Toshi wanted to know Gio's thoughts on Heron Boy. Technical difficulties now. You bums. Alright, alright. Where the bums at? Where my nigga Alex at? Where my nigga Taka at? Taka Moin-san. Okay, let me bring it up. We are here at the world premiere. Oh, there he is. There he is. Oh shit, Ryan's here, Kaiser's here, Vector's here. That's 3. That's good enough. Just give me a second. Let me get my phone. And we'll start. Explosive interview, as Tucker says. Where D&D? Oh, we're Dulled. Okay. I don't know where Dulled is. We're Baker. We're Tanya. This is what I mean. I struggle to get the same 5 fucking people, man. And I need, so that I don't have to rely on you guys, I need 5 more people. Oh, Tanya only shows up if Sin does. Yeah. They're planning their marriage of convenience. Tanya needs a way out of the Columbia. And Sin needs a marriage of convenience so people stay off his back about being married or heterosexual. Let me quickly get my phone. Do the ones. Do the ones. Do the ones. We're Rick, we're Baker. Rick is only free or D&D related things. Tanya only shows up. How long would 2 gays survive if their dicks were stick together? I'd say they could survive pretty long. They would each be forced to piss into each other's urinary tract. This is why we worry for you, Kaiser. The normal human being does Think about these things. Who's that Nazi scientist who did experiments just because he could? Like he would do experiments on like they would consider inferior beings, just different experiments. Goebbels or whoever the guy is, scientist. That's Kaiser. He would just do experiments on people to sate his curiosity. Like his curiosity to see what would happen. I guess they would die from kidney failure. You could put that to the test. In some multiverse somewhere, Kaiser's putting that to the test. God. Let me just get the Twitch app done. My nigga Tucker, my nigga Alex. In. Video on. Where did Ryan and Vector go? Where'd they go? My nigga Ryan. My nigga Vector.
We're here with the world's most dangerous man, the most censored man in the English language. But honestly, when you get him in front of an outhouse in the woods,
man's gut.
Doesn't seem so dangerous.
Man's gut.
It's a fancy outhouse.
We have a ruling class in the United States.
That's Tucker's real laugh.
Defined by its hatreds, not its loves, not its hopes, but by its hatreds. They hate all kinds of people, large groups of people, the deplorables, the bitter clingers, America's entire blue-collar population, the unfashionable.
Tucker's Muslim, by the way.
Are hated by the people who run our country. But no one is hated more by them than a man called Alex Jones. Alex Jones is the single most censored man in all American history. He was the first media figure in our history to be completely erased in one day, deplatformed. Alex Jones was deplatformed before it was a common term.
Deplatformed.
And not just deplatformed, sued, attacked. They attempted to criminally charge him. What did Alex Jones do wrong? Alex Jones didn't rape anybody.
Dude, alt-right Avengers. You're right. Trump and Andrew Tate gonna join. Dude, Trump, Andrew Tate, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson. You need a woman. Probably Megyn Kelly or someone. Or that blonde bimbo bitch who appears on The View. The conservative bitch.
He didn't loot Macy's. He didn't burn a police station. He didn't invent a fake cryptocurrency and loot pension funds. He didn't start a pointless war that made this country poorer and more disorganized. He didn't.
Candace is too moderate now. Bilbo. She's too moderate. Too moderate to be alright.
Open the southern border. No. Alex Jones had opinions that deeply rattled the people who run America. In fact, rattled
Bush did 9/11.
I'll just confess that I first heard of Alex Jones.
Bush did 9/11.
When he questioned the official story behind 9/11. And I, speaking for myself, was deeply offended by this. I didn't take any time to find out what he was saying, but I was bothered by the idea that this...
When I made the Tucker AI, which is a very good AI voice for Tucker, when I did the AI where AI become Muslim, one guy commented and says, Tucker doesn't talk like that. Dude, nigga, I've seen enough of this guy to know he talks like that, like a fucking robot. It was on point, fam.
Defining event in American history, which changed the life of everyone who lived here then, might not actually have unfolded as we were told it did. And that possibility was too destabilizing. And I remember feeling resentment toward Alex Jones for saying that. But several years later, I wound up in Austin, Texas, and through a chain of circumstances, wound up meeting Alex Jones. And I learned what everyone who has met him now knows, which is Alex Jones is not a crazy person. Alex Jones has said pretty far out things on TV. From
he's a little bit crazy.
Not that far out. He's
a little bit crazy.
Women, or Ukraine is a democracy. But within the bounds of, say, cable news, pretty far out. But fundamentally, Alex Jones is right about a lot of things. And in fact, that's why they don't like him. Alex Jones has an uncanny, really an amazing ability to predict events before they happen. He has called it, and he's done it on tape again and again, to the point where it's a meme on the internet. Alex Jones, prophet, not conspiracy nut, prophet.
No, we know prophet.
But when you dig into Alex Jones's predictions, they are so spot on.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it takes crazy to know a crazy world. That's Alex.
That it's remarkable. How does he do this? We're guessing there's a kind of spiritual sensitivity to Alex Jones. Maybe that's his secret. He was displaying this years before the average person in this country even thought about matters like that. Now it's...
At least he's not Jordan Peterson vector. At least he uses clear, simple language, not sophisticated language.
It's pretty obvious to most people that the current war going on in this country is taking place in ways you can't
Tucker's
see.
gift is that he's a smart man that knows how to speak to the working class and blue-collar people. That's his gift. Tucker knows the exact language, simple language to use that everyone in the household pays attention. Even Ryan's dad likes Tucker, man.
See it most of the time, but 10 years ago, people were not thinking that way. Alex Jones was. And so we thought it'd be interesting to sit down and talk to Alex Jones, the man. He joins us now in our studio. Alex Jones, thank you.
Wow, Tucker, it's great to be here. Amazing studios, amazing, amazing people. And this is really going to be, I think.
Talking about the Avengers, this guy needs to be Sabretooth in the Wolverine Deadpool movie. Yeah, they'll Tucker more niche now, yeah.
Historic interview, so thanks for having me.
Well, I'm really grateful to be able to do it. And it's one of the great blessings of my life and of my job is that I've been able to meet people that I've had preconceptions about and sometimes find those preconceptions.
The issue is Tucker has appeared on Alex Jones' show before. He has appeared on Alex Jones' show, and it was widely believed that Tucker is like a huge Alex Jones fanboy. Like a huge Alex Jones fanboy. And even Alex was back in the day used to go about, oh, Tucker listens to me, but he won't admit it. This motherfucker listens to me, and he won't admit it.
Bolstered, and in other cases demolished, and you're definitely in the second category. So I want, for people who've made it this far, you know, the people around the country have really succeeded in making you disreputable. And the whole point, of course, is people won't listen to you. So we thought it'd be interesting to start with a series of on-tape predictions that you made, some of which are so...
His predictions are really fucking crazy, Alex Jones's.
And I'm being sincere, and our viewers are about to see what I'm talking about. Here is a list of things that you called ahead of time.
By the middle of September, that the new policy's being written, you will all have to wear masks again, and so will airport employees.
It's happening. Mask mandates are officially back.
We know the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to blow up airliners, Baltimore Sun, or if you let some terrorist group do it, like the World Trade Center, we know who to blame. And if there was an outside threat like a bin Laden, who was a known CIA asset in the 80s,
this group and its leader.
2 months he predicted that before September 11th.
boogeyman they need.
We're looking at a giant war in February right now. I predict the Russians.
That is crazy. That is crazy. I mean, it's easy to predict the Ukraine-Russia thing, because that's been going on for ages. I'm not going to give him the Russia-Ukraine, because that's just the easiest thing to predict. But his 9/11 one 2 months before was fucking on point, man.
Russians are going to roll in. They're already there. They're going to roll in.
With attacks across Ukraine, which is the size of Texas.
It really was the Iraqis. That's just because they're getting ready to invade Iraq. And what a beautiful setup.
Those 9/11 clips are crazy. I'm actually bothered by the precision of them. I'm not accusing you of being behind 9/11. But how could you, in July of 2001, call that? You said they're going to have airliners fly into the World Trade Center and they're going to blame a guy called Osama bin Laden. Now, leaving aside what actually happened,
that is insane.
How could you have known that?
Well, in the longer clips, because it's a multi-hour show from July 25th, 2001, I specifically walked through all the reasons, and I knew that they were hyping up that we were about to be hit by Osama bin Laden. I knew that the World Trade Center had been attacked the first time and that the Fed's been involved helping cook the bomb and allowing it to go forward. And I just saw a lot of the pre-programming that was happening in the media, because they were on the news saying, you know, life's about to change in America. And I was reading what the RAND Corporation was saying and what the Pentagon was putting out. And I read the PNAC document from a year before, Rebuilding America's Defenses, that Dick Cheney had helped write. And it said we need a Pearl Harbor event on the American homeland to be able to bring in this police state and this control. And then
the crazy thing is they do write this shit, but they know that the American public is so dumb, they're not going to read any report. Gulf of Tonkin, Pearl Harbor, America lets shit happen because they have no other excuse to go into another country. America doesn't inherently like foreign entanglement, but they need to scare the public enough to give the mandate, you go, do it, blank check, take my tax money, take everything, go to war, go with this country. They want to convince you that it's justified. Pearl Harbor type of event, man.
Expand the American empire worldwide. So hundreds of pieces of data went into that prediction.
But terrorists are going to hit the World Trade Center in July of 2001. I lived in the United States then. That was the last thing on my mind. And I lived in Washington. I know the guys who wrote the PNAC document because I shared an office with them. So I was more informed than the average person. And that was the last thing that crossed my mind in the summer of 2001. Like everyone else, I thought it was a Cessna. But how convinced were you that this was going to happen?
I was completely convinced. In fact, in the full clip that's online, you can find it on Twitter and other places, it has been removed.
He loves this. He loves the limelight. Love it.
Explain to people that they need to call the White House and tell the White House, we know if you allow these attacks that you're basically allowing it to happen. And it was similar to all the data we had when
you said that on your show?
On my show. And I gave the number out so people could actually call the White House. And then going back to October of last year, when the Russians went into Ukraine, I specifically said I think they'll go in by the end of February. And there was a lot of data that went into that. And then they specifically did go in on February 24th. And so I was able to make that prediction as well. But there was a lot of data.
And there's even a proof that Bush knew the airliner was coming. And they could have intercepted it, but they told NORAD, like American airspace, North American airspace, to stand down.
Information that went into it.
Sure. I'm just, for the record, I miscalled that completely. I didn't think they were going to do it. You were right. I was wrong, not for the first time. But the 9/11 thing, I remember that really well. Nobody was thinking like that. So you called it in public on tape. Did the 9/11 Commission... So if I'm the FBI and I'm investigating 9/11, you're like the first guy I would call because you're the only person who said that out loud. Did they call you?
No, they didn't. But my most accurate prediction, going back over a decade, was when I read the Rockefeller Foundation Operation Lockstep, and they described using a virus to bring in world government, to bring in a world...
This is exactly why. When Jones starts talking about actual reports that he's read through hundreds of pages, people just switch off. The average American just switches off. This is why you get terror attacks on your country, and then you act like you don't know where they came from.
They would then build the social credit score off.
Current gen kids asking when 9/11.
They would make people wear masks for fear, that they would shut down sporting events and things like that, and basically phase in this new tyranny. So I was also able to specifically make that prediction over and over and over again because I was going off their own battle plans.
Are you the only person in media who actually reads these reports?
I don't think a lot of people do read them, but I do read them. I mean, I'm currently reading MIT reports from their top councils, Pentagon reports. They have a working group called the Mad Scientist Group at the Pentagon that works with MIT.
Mad Scientist Group.
Watch their hour-long, 2-hour-long, 3-hour-long meetings they have on YouTube with all the tops. I mean, we're talking hundreds of top scientists. They admit that they're building a post-human world, that soon everyone's going to be mind-controlled, that they're going to put smart dust in our food that they can electromagnetically control, and they just lay it all out right there. And I've learned what these people said in the 50s they would do were done by the 70s. What they said their plan was in the 70s for the 90s, they got done. And then when they had their Agenda 21 in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, the big UN summit, they described everything they would do up until the year 2000, and they got almost all of that done. And now they've got Agenda 2030, and we're going to ban your gas stoves, we're going to ban beef, we're going to ban single-family dwellings. We're going to ban...
That I believe. Carbon zero, was it carbon zero, net zero? This net zero agenda, ban beef, have everyone eating locusts, synthetic meat. Bill Gates is pushing synthetic meat. Ban your gas stoves, energy prices going to the roof. You know the net zero is the next big agenda. Everyone lower your fucking standards. Lower your living standards. That I believe. Eat bugs, yeah. That I believe. They're pushing this net zero thing everywhere. Even in my local council, or my council website, net zero, this. It's not nothing to do with just less cars on the road or less emissions. Now it's about every aspect of your life has to be downgraded.
Cars, we're going to do all this, and now you see them rolling it all out. So I'm not really making predictions in these high-level World Economic Forum and other large think tank groups. They are laying out the future, and they're high priests of the World Economic Forum. That's a consortium of all these groups. Yuval Noah Harari, you can read his quotes. The future's not human. The human era is over. The public is useless. I mean, this is a very anti-human system. So that's how I'm able to make predictions, because they've given us a roadmap. They tell us where they want to take us. And so when the public wakes up, we push back on some of it, but they always come back. And so I'm just following the trajectory of where they say they want to take us. And there were a lot of white papers, not just the PNAC document from 2000, a year before 9/11, where they describe we really need big terror attacks. We really need Pearl Harbor events to get Americans to give up their rights. I mean, take what just happened in Israel. Totally tragic. My heart goes out to all that have been killed or lost loved ones or been injured. But there's no way that one of the best intelligence agencies in the world didn't know that was coming. The massive buildup, the 5,000 missiles, the paragliding attacks, all of that.
He's right. There's no way Israel didn't know about that fucking attack. Their own mans were human shields. They sacrificed their own mans. They martyred their own mans. They knew it.
And so there was clearly a stand down there. And now the West will take more of the people's rights. Israel will be able to crack down and take more of their people's rights, which is a big debate over there. Hamas is being funded by Hezbollah, which is Iran. We just had Biden a month ago give $6 billion to Iran. And now the mullahs are bragging that they were behind the attack, Hezbollah funding Hamas. So really, those aren't even predictions. It's clear that Hezbollah and Hamas have tens of thousands of men and women as sleeper cells that are, quote, other than Mexican, that the Border Patrol list every month, tens of thousands coming across the Texas and Arizona and California sectors. And it's an easy equation to predict that there's a wide probability that Hezbollah and Hamas at some point are going to attack sports stadiums. They're going to attack colleges.
Okay, this is where Alex Jones fucks up. Half-truths. He takes a little bit of truth and he tries to connect the dots to something that he believes in. So for Americans right now, it's all about that southern border for some reason, because they don't want illegal Mexicans coming over. But he does his own sort of like scare tactics, where it's like, oh shit, Hamas and Hezbollah are gonna come to America through Mexico, so you gotta close the borders. He tries to connect A to B. So A might be true, but B is not true. He tries to connect.
Synagogues are going to shoot up mass gatherings if they're given the order by Iran, if we go to war with Iran.
But he does blame Israel for everything.
Our government won't get in trouble for dissolving the border and letting these people come in. Just like on 9/11, our government clearly had prior knowledge. There was clearly a major stand down that went on, and the government got more power, more control. And now they're not pointing the Homeland Security apparatus at the Russians like they did in the Cold War, or the Islamists after 9/11. Now they admit that their main focus is Christian conservatives and the bitter clingers and the people.
See, he brings it back around. He talks about real things, and then he's like, that is connected to clamp down on conservatives and your guns. There's no fucking connection, man.
Live in rural America, that quote, white people, I mean, it says that in the report, are the main terror threat. And so this whole apparatus of the war on terror, it has now been turned inwardly against the people, not just here, but also in Europe, where if someone criticizes transgenderism in the UK, they come to their house and arrest them. If a journalist does that, they come to their house and arrest them. If somebody says, I think these surveillance cameras should start getting cut down, they come to their house and they arrest them for their free speech. And so This is a global movement by the megacorporations.
Everything he knows about the UK, the problem with Alex Jones is he doesn't know about UK politics. So he gets all his information about the UK from Paul Joseph Watson, who used to work with him. And Paul Joseph Watson, believe me when I say he's worse than Alex Jones. He's a worse man than Alex Jones. He's disgusting, that guy.
Rocks and the state streets and the vanguards that control 80+%
Possessive.
of wealth, to control our behavior. And Larry Fink of BlackRock has said that at the Davos Group repeatedly. We're going to use our control over all this finance and this global social credit score we're rolling out to control people's behavior. So that's really what this is. And then they
Daily
use,
Mail, yeah.
The threat of global
Telegraph.
warming, they use the threat of a virus, they use the threat of radical Islam to take our rights, but we really are the target.
See, he's right. He knows they use Islam as a boogeyman to do whatever they want. Patriot Act. Patriot Act was 100% using boogeyman to bring these draconian fucking laws in.
By the way, none of that seems implausible at this point. I mean, just you're a measure of how the world has changed. If you'd said this to me 15 years ago, I'd have been like, you know, someone's a crackpot and it's not me. And now after COVID, nothing you said seems crazy at all. I mean, you may be right, you may be wrong, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, obviously. But even
Trying to cover his ass.
Said, I would think that's pretty interesting. It's an interesting perspective.
Interesting.
Why do you think you've committed no crime? You'd be in jail if you had. Why do you think they hate you so much?
Because I do read their documents and I do read their books, and we were effectively getting a lot of people in the military and the intelligence agencies who were compartmentalized and who tuned into my show and saw my films and read my books and things, and they clicked with it.
He's such a shameless self-promoter. He is such a shameless self-promoter.
And said, wow, I see all this going on around me. He's not lying about it. And then I would give them other pieces that I discovered or my other guests discovered. And so it was giving them an operational awareness outside of their compartmentalization. And so we had massive success in the military, in the police, and in the intelligence agencies, not just here, but around the world. And so our penetration into those areas to help people expand their awareness that we're inside the government, inside corporations, was triggering a lot of whistleblowers, was triggering a lot of people.
You only missed 15 minutes.
Program. And so really my sin was decompartmentalization of the population.
When you got deplatformed, and to this day,
deplatformed, Elon ain't letting him back on.
Censored, I don't think, than you.
If it wasn't Elon, I wouldn't care. If it wasn't Elon Musk, I would not care if Alex Jones was replatformed. But because it's Elon Musk specifically that's not bringing back on Twitter, even though fucking Tate is allowed and all these other people are allowed, then you got an issue.
I've apologized to you this in person before. I was in Labrador on a fishing trip and missed the entire thing. I was literally out of cell range. I didn't know what happened, but I got back and I read about it. I felt like it was a major moment in the history of the American media. I don't think anybody defended you when that happened. Anybody with any kind of audience.
For me, when Tim Cook admitted that he met on the weekend,
Tim Cook,
in August of 2017, with the other big tech heads, and they made the decision to curate, like it's a museum, and take me off. It was hundreds of platforms. I mean, it wasn't just all the big ones. It was everything from LinkedIn to our bank accounts being taken away to everything ensuing that week and over the next month. And I knew that I was a test case, and I wasn't taken, off those platforms.
Yeah, he does look like he's been working out a bit. He's got a gut. He's got a fat white man gut because he eats all this steak. He's probably backed up for days with all the steak he's eating. But he looks stocky. He looks like a brawler.
For the reason, it was the questioning the school shooting.
Okay, let's put it back. It's as loud as I can do it right now, man. Let me put it's as loud as I can do it now.
Thing that came later, they went and kind of dredged that up from my past, just questioning it a few times, blew that up after I'd been deplatformed and said I was deplatformed for that. But if you check the record, I wasn't. And so once they deplatformed me, it made the show in ways.
I was saying Toshi, he should be Sabretooth. The new MCU Sabretooth. Or in the Deadpool Wolverine 3 movie.
Only get bigger with people actually going to Infowars.com and finding me on local radio stations and things. So then they panicked and said, okay, let's look at his record.
Alex Jones has actually been in 2 movies. He's been in exactly 2 movies.
And
Good
create
movies.
more of a reason that he's being taken off. So they took things out of context from 5-6 years before, blew them up as a current thing out of context, and deceptively reported on what I'd said to create a straw man argument to then facilitate the reason.
He's been in a Keanu Reeves movie, Scanner Darkly, and he was in another movie called Waking Life, which is good.
What's so crazy is if you asked just a cross-section of Americans who's responsible for the Sandy Hook massacre of kids at the school,
Sandy Hook.
no one remembers the name of the murderer.
Adam Lanza.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Adam Lanza.
I didn't remember.
No, did Tucker really just say nobody remembers the name of the killer? And Alex Jones straight out said Adam Lanza. He's trying to fit a narrative, but Alex is just... It's true though, you can't blame Alex Jones for Sandy Hook. You cannot blame him for Sandy Hook.
Alex Jones. They effectively blamed you for a school shooting that you were not present at.
I have people come up to me in the parking lot. You can ask my security guy. He's been there when people walk up and go, why'd you kill those?
He was the one after Edward Snowden outed Japan for its mass surveillance on Muslims. He was talking about it. I don't think he gives a fuck about Japan. I don't think Alex Jones is a fan of Japan.
Kids. And then you go, I didn't kill those kids. And they go, yeah, you did. And so that is what this has turned into. And this is bigger than me. I don't think people understand.
They blame him for saying it was fake and riling up his audience to go harass the parents of Sandy Hook. That's what they blame him for. That's what they sued him for. But they're essentially blaming him for Sandy Hook.
Understand something, that the mullahs in Iran and the Ayatollah are congratulating Hamas that just killed around 1,000 or more innocent Israelis, many of them women, children, disabled people, in a vicious, evil sneak attack. They are on there. Hezbollah and Hamas, mainly Hamas, but it's Hezbollah funding it out of Iran, are literally posting videos of them cutting people's heads off and killing children and massacring innocent people. They're allowed to have their Hezbollah accounts and their Hamas accounts. The Ayatollah is able to congratulate what these people done, and I am still banned. And I'm not mad at Elon Musk.
Yeah, I will say, in that regard, there's a double standard. Even I don't even believe that. But even if I did, which most of the world believes that about Hezbollah, the average person believes that about Hamas and Hezbollah. I don't. But it's true. Wow, it's crazy that they're allowed, but Jones is deplatformed.
So demonized with the general public.
I'm all about consistency, man. I'm all about consistency. It's the inconsistency that I fucking hate.
To, keep Twitter going right now. I really appreciate what he's done. I admire him. I think he's done a lot of great work, and I see him moving in the right direction. So a lot of people attack Musk on Twitter. I trend all the time. Hey, if you're such an absolutist on free speech, bring back Alex Jones. I understand that if he did that, the ADL and others would really be able to probably shut down Twitter. So I understand that he needs to
ADL
go through a process before he does that. So people get mad at Twitter for not.
Why the ADL? I'm not the world's expert on your career, but I know you. I've never heard you say a single anti-Semitic thing and an anti-Israel thing. Why would the ADL be against you? I don't think.
See, it's fucking Israelis running all your politics, all your discourse, all your social media. ADL, it's like the BDL, fam. British Defence League. It's ADL, fam.
I don't think anyone's even called you an anti-Semite.
Well,
unless I'm missing something.
I mean, what goes on is the left forever called everybody a racist if you were just a conservative or pro-Second Amendment or pro-life or thought we ought to have a border. And that didn't work anymore to call people racist. And so the ADL gets all this big liberal donations. And so they go out and then police and take people's sponsors and target them just by the ADL calling up sponsors. Sponsors get scared and drop. And so that's what they've done to Elon Musk. They've been, they took over 50% of Twitter's North American and European advertising in just the last year.
Bloody hell. Bloody hell.
He gives harbor to white supremacists, which which he doesn't. But at the same time, white supremacists are ridiculous. They're goofy. Most of them are usually working for foundations and are basically, actors. We're not supposed to say that, but there's many cases of that actually being the case, and that they're just LARPing that they're white supremacists. But let those clowns.
Wait, did you just say LARPing? Live action role playing is white supremacy.
Whatever happened to the ACLU that used to support the KKK marching through a town or publishing their own newspaper? I don't support the KKK. I think they're a joke. But if you take their rights, you've taken everybody's. But they're not even taking the rights of those people to post because they create fear and they get the ADL more funding. But if they can target an Alex Jones or an Elon Musk or a Tucker Carlson, then they're going after the real populist leaders that are bringing America together. And so what the left wants is to divide us all according to race, and to come out and say fundamentally with critical race theory that inherently being white is bad, and teaching 5-year-old white children they're inherently bad because they're white. That is wounding their brains and really creating racial division.
Why do people put up with that? I don't understand why. I mean, that's just, if you had told me 20 years ago, and I grew up in a world where judging people on the basis of their skin color was totally immoral, and I still believe that. But if you told me 20 years ago that we were going to live in a world where people...
Nah, you can't divorce whiteness from class. Can't divorce it, fam. You've been living and thriving off that class, fam.
I hate white people, they're bad. No, it's totally fine. Like, why do people put up with that? Like, there should be zero tolerance for that. I don't get it.
It's the whites that put the class system in. The haves and have-not system. You know what I mean? It's like, it would be like if a bunch of rich white guys colonized Mars and set up all the systems there for people to live underneath from the inception of the system to favor you. You know what I mean? People think about it in terms of our own politics. Oh, it's bullshit. There's no institutional racism. A bunch of rich white mans colonize Mars, set up a system that everyone lives under that benefits them, fam. Think about it that way.
The Democratic Party founded the KKK. And when the majority were whites in the South in some areas, they played the race card for political power. Now that the majority in most areas are not white, they're playing the good old-fashioned race card of tell whites, stand down, let people take over your society, your culture, give up your culture. It's embarrassing to be white.
See, this is the problem. He mixes factual stuff, truth, with his agenda, and he tries to mash them together, and he tries to convince people there's a link between this and that. It's like convincing people that drinking, like eating Kit Kat will cause cancer. It's like telling people that Kit Kat will cause fucking cancer. I mean, my Mars is boring, to be honest, too barren.
It's flat out bad to be white, and the left's trying to convert all these minority groups that are now the majority in most areas into race-based systems because that is a very effective system.
But why do people put up with that? I mean, like if they were doing that to Malaysians or Filipinos or Hondurans, I would say you can't do that. You're not allowed to
the Yashas and the Vectors
of the race. I'm sorry, not
the Yashas and the
in a country
Vectors
like this because the country will fall apart and it's immoral.
I totally agree.
I know he's not Malaysian, but still.
I don't get it.
He wasn't Malaysian.
It is, most of the enforcers of this are white liberal women, 45 or older, not
fair.
It's just a fact, and they're cucked husbands. And so to them,
can I just say that the phrase
"cucked cousins"
is the best.
And so to this are white liberal women, 45 or older, not
fair.
It's just a fact, and they're cucked husbands. And so
and cousins.
Can I just say that the phrase "cucked husbands" is the best?
I mean, it really is true. So if you get
what is
around these white liberals, they live in the whitest areas. They're totally scared of anybody with brown skin, but they virtue signal constantly. And then say, I mean, it really is true. So if you get around these white liberals, they live in the whitest areas. They're totally scared of anybody with brown skin, but they virtue signal constantly and then say, yes, the white people are bad. The white people are evil, and these. I mean, I've even seen white people sit there and say, "Yeah, it's time to deal with these crackers," and they're a white person saying that. So
from Jackson Hole,
ham
or
sandwich,
Nantucket, or Aspen, or Bethesda, the whitest places in America. So shouldn't there be a law? Super simple. If you've got a BLM sign in your yard, you should be required to live in Gary, Indiana, or Baltimore. Like you should not be anywhere near Jackson, Wyoming.
You should be made to live in East St. Louis.
I totally agree.
You should be made to live in Detroit.
Yes.
But of course, they've done the studies. They looked at the statistics. It's not just here. It's in Europe and it's in the UK, like in London. The liberal areas are like 99% white.
Oh, I noticed.
Okay, and there's a lot of rich people in London that aren't white, but they're not even in that area. They are the most insular group, and then they point at white Christian culture and society that actually outlawed slavery in most of the world, was the vanguard of stopping it, and then they don't point at China, which is the most homogeneous racist group in the world.
It's an ethno-state. It's Han Chinese, period.
Well, they teach, as you know on their news, that we are going to have Chinese superiority. We are the Chinese supremacist.
Them tinks. Gigi. Dude, it always comes back to Gigi. It always comes back to Kim Jong. It always comes back to the Reds.
King admires Hitler. He is literally following a race-based operation that is taking the world over, that owns the majority of Hollywood, that's paid off the Democratic Party. And if you look at all these anti-white...
Dude, is he saying China owns Hollywood? Oh, my days. Who is it? Is it the Jews? Is it the Chinese? Who is it?
Shows that you see funded in Hollywood, almost all of it has majority literal communist Chinese government backing that is funding this. So it's real simple. China looks in and sees this diverse culture, and they say, we're going to use that to split the country up and balkanize it. And that's what they've done. And so communist China, along with the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ADL and all these groups, see America's weakness, and they're literally coming in saying white people are inherently bad because of the color of their skin. They inherently have cheated people. They've hurt people. White people invented racism. None of that's true. It's really just tribalism. And then they organize all these other groups into race-based groups to then unify them under the Democratic Party to attack who is left that tends to be more conservative, and that is some white people in this country. Though
they don't ban them, they ask them to censor them a little bit. There's been games which have to remove Tibet. Any mention of Tibet? What is it? Not Tibet. Yeah, Tibet have to remove certain mentions to get released in China. I don't think they ban them, but they do ask that they censor them.
More and more blacks are voting Republican. More and more Hispanics are voting Republican. They're starting to figure this out.
You know what? I still don't know to this day if Winnie the Pooh is a cloud in the Chinese version of Kingdom Hearts. I still don't. Yeah, Taiwan, that's it. Taiwan. I still don't know to this day if that meme about Winnie the Pooh in Kingdom Hearts 3 being a cloud because Chinese government asked them to censor is true, because I haven't seen any footage of that thing. So I don't know how much to believe. There is no Pooh ban. Okay. That's what I mean. We don't even know if half this shit is true, right? That we hear about China.
They're in panic mode to bring in totally disenfranchised third world populations who are refugees from the multi-year lockdowns in Africa, Latin America, and Asia and the Middle East. They then bring them to UN camps, brainwash them.
It's weird that, and that's true because it's weird that conservative white dudes don't care about Palestinians dying, but they'll always make the straw man that China's doing this to Rohingyan people, which may or may not be true to that extent. But it's weird how they straw man it. What if you can be for the Muslims in the Rohingyans? Why are you so against Palestinians? You know what I mean? So then you have to wonder what their agenda is, whether they're telling the truth or not. Everything we hear about the Rohingyans has actually been from conservative, alt-right conservatives.
Bring them to our border, brainwash them more, then send them into the United States, and then literally hold them for years at facilities while they're indoctrinated to be this new political...
I don't respect China. Fucking, I'm not like a fan of China. Fucking hate them as well.
That's then going to be turned loose on America. And that's why you see Democrats giving illegal aliens the right to vote in their cities, giving them driver's license. That's why you see them passing laws. They can be police officers. So they are importing a new enforcement class against the American people. And they're setting it up along racial lines, not us. They're making it racial. Just like Hitler made what he did racial. So it's the left and the think tanks and the communists.
Yeah, he thinks that they're letting illegal aliens run across the border, flood the American system, so that they can become police officers. It's like the South Park joke skit where Cartman enters a world where every police officer is a female black woman or Hispanic woman.
that look at the U.S. and have seen our weakness.
This is what he's talking about, replacement theory, that they want to replace white people with dark people.
As race, and they are exacerbating it.
So I don't understand. So you're from Texas. You grew up in Texas. Your family's been there a long time. Texas is changing really fast. It's dirty, for one thing, I know, because physically dirty, garbage on the side of the road. I never have seen that.
Texas is dirty.
So your governor could have stopped that. He commands the Texas National Guard.
Everywhere is dirty in America.
And I feel like that makes him a traitor to the country, but what am I missing?
Well, I mean, Governor Abbott is, on a scale of 1 to 10,
No, Southern
the
Texas.
Republican governor is a 10, and the worst is, say, a 1. And like the Illinois so-called Republican, that's really a Democrat. I would put Greg Abbott as about a 5. The state is overwhelmed.
They're generalizing, though. Should have mentioned specifically.
Federal to kick people back and deport them. So they have put up barbed wire. They have tried to stop people. They have tried, but then they have to hand them over to the feds who release them.
Well, why not just say the feds are committing a crime? They're committing a crime. This is not allowed under laws passed by the Congress. In a democracy, the Congress passed laws. And so you've got criminals.
That is, this is what do you call it? It does correlate with what the border sheriff said, that they hand them over to the feds, and the feds just release them.
The Biden administration is criminal,
and or they never turn up to their court dates, and they just disappear into the population.
And we're not playing along. And like, if you don't like it, come do something about it. Meanwhile, every able-bodied man with a black rifle assemble at the border, and we're just going to stop this and save the country. I don't understand. Like, that's not hard. Dude, what am I missing?
He's talking about assembling mans with rifles across the border to shoot innocent people coming over. That's what they want, fam. I agree that you need to have control over your border, but what these guys propose is fucking monstrous, man.
No, I think you're absolutely right. In fact, what the deep state fears would be a coalition of good governors, good attorney generals, giving them the findings and the rulings that they could indeed do that, and then declaring emergencies in the states and having a coalition of the states come in.
These guys fantasize about a Alamo or a Civil War 2.0. They fantasize about it. That's where the gun fetish comes from. They fantasize in their heads that I'm going to defend the Republic. I'm going to defend it one day against these filthy foreigners.
This, and then instruct local police and everybody else to not have sanctuary cities. But the problem is, if you're in Texas, every single city, Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, are Democrat Party run. And so Texas is almost purple because the California influx, all the other refugees from New York, many of them bring their leftist ideology with them, even though they're fleeing. Like locusts, they fly over the field. And so that's really the issue, is that the legislature is somewhat cucked, to use that word again.
Cucked.
The governor has been cucked. He certainly went along with lockdowns and masks more than really any other Republican governor. And so I do think Greg Abbott needs to do a better job. But I also wanted to list some of the things that the state is up against. But I'll say this. Austin fired a bunch of police and another third quit. Crime everywhere, homeless everywhere, trash everywhere, ruin the city like everywhere else they are.
You live there?
Absolutely. That's where my family's from. I've been there since high school. But I'm going to have to leave soon because it's gotten more and more like Los Angeles every day. It's very sad to see people fleeing LA like my friend Joe Rogan. It seems great to him because he went from a really, really bad situation into a bad situation. But if you've been there, you can see the decline. You can see how fast it is. And it's really, 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 really sad. And they're
Jones has to move somewhere where they don't want to kill him every time he takes a trip to a steakhouse.
Aliens everywhere and refugees from the rest of the country all over the place. And you see really the economic decline of most of the mom and pop businesses and things. So the same rot.
Tucker got a fish face.
We've seen all over the country. Austin was supposedly this big mecca and it was going to be so great. And now sadly it's falling apart. I mean, Tucker, you know the answer to all this. You do
he said mecca and he made that face.
It's falling apart. I mean, Tucker.
I don't hate Tucker as much as I used to, This fuck, that's so.
You know the answer to all this. You do the best job of anybody with a true Americana populist breakdown. The ruling elites of the world, the Black Crocs, the State Streets, they're on record saying they don't want our consumer society. They don't want our capitalist society. It's bad, it's ugly, it's gross. But they're the biggest consumers compared to anybody else in the world. Their quote carbon footprints are thousands of times bigger than the average person. Leonardo DiCaprio or Klaus Schwab literally have carbon footprints thousands of times bigger than the average poor working American.
That's true. This is why whenever Leonardo DiCaprio shows up on fucking stage talking about climate change, can't take that motherfucker seriously, man. Great actor, terrible person.
They're telling you can't have a car or air conditioning. Remember, before Obama left office, he traveled to Latin America, to Africa, and the Middle East. And what did he tell them in speeches? The clips are famous. You can't have a car or air conditioning. The earth will overheat and burn up. While he's telling people that by the year 2017, like Al Gore said, we would have areas flooded on the coastal areas while he bought a big house in Martha's Vineyard at 1 foot above sea level. And of course, it's still there and it hasn't flooded. I mean, his chef died there, you drowned, sadly, but no flooding inside the house, just the dead chef. So they're waging war against civilization and society to make us poor, to put us under siege, and to cut off our energy, make the cost of living impossible, to break our old system, to bring in something even worse. And that's the Cloward and Piven strategy that the Democratic Party has adopted.
Cloward and Piven.
In Europe, this is a plan. The central banks have unlimited money, but they can't buy all the infrastructure up because people aren't selling. So they've got to crush us and make people so poor that everybody's forced to sell their business, their intellectual property, their physical property, but more importantly, to turn over our bodies to them. We're a UN treaty that...
there is a move towards a lack of ownership as well. Over time, lack of you actually owning anything. You will own nothing and be happy. Like MK says, you will own nothing and be happy culture. About giving over, we don't really own anything.
Right now, that's what I call Biden. So Biden is trying to ratify...
The government shares schemes for housing because couples can't afford accommodation, can't afford to buy their own houses. Share schemes, digital ownership. A move towards digital ownership and all this shit,
put our bodies
which isn't even ownership
of the United Nations and our medical care policy under it. So
it's the pandemic
treaty.
Yeah.
So what this...
climate change is real. It's the way they politicize it. This climate change is real, but both sides are trying to politicize it towards an agenda, towards like you should be scared, but here's why you should be scared, and this is what you need to do. They're weaponizing climate change.
Breaking of our will, a demoralization. That's what the transgenderism is, and 2 men can have a baby, and puberty blockers, and castrating little boys, and cutting little girls' breasts off. They've got such hellish stuff coming in this designed global collapse to bring in their world government that they've got to just have all these horrors out there. Hoping...
Dude, you can't even own the grave sites that you buy here. I don't know if this is the case before, but even where we buried our mum, where I buried my mum, that plot of land is only leased for 60 years. 60 years, apparently. You don't even own the bones where your fucking family are buried, fam. Obviously, that land, anything could happen to that land. They might need to requisition it or whatever, for whatever reason. So you're not gonna just give somebody that plot for like forever. I get it. Still, no ownership. I have no idea what happens. I haven't looked into it. I was just told that legally 60 years is the lease on that. Yeah, they are removed eventually. By that time, the bones have disintegrated and the wood's disintegrated.
Just throw up our hands and run off to the countryside, which everybody's doing, and in a way that's good. But at the same time, then they've got full control.
That's totally right.
And they're going to march out of the countryside next and dig us out.
So that's, I mean, you look at
the dirt, maybe.
Who can barely speak English, who's one of the stupidest people I've ever seen, and a transparent liar. You wouldn't hire her to run your copy machine. She's the White House press secretary. Why would you do that? And it's not because of her race or who she sleeps with.
What did he say?
And a transparent liar. You can barely speak English.
Full control.
That's totally right.
And they're going to march out of the countryside next and dig us out.
So that's, I mean, you look at the White House press secretary, who can barely speak English. He's one of the stupidest people I've ever seen.
The press secretary.
You wouldn't hire her to run your copy.
Biden's press secretary.
Why would you do that? And it's not because of her race or who she sleeps with. I think the whole point is she's so obviously repulsive that it makes you feel bad about the country.
It does.
I mean, that's it. We're at a beautiful ball.
You know, it's like Kingdom. You remember Kingdom, right, Ryan? The Netflix, Korean Netflix show, Kingdom, where the king is dead. He's a fucking zombie. That's Biden. And you've got all these people speaking for him as though he's alive. That's what that press secretary for Biden is like. They roll her out. They cut her out. Because Biden is off his rocker. He's a geriatric tortoise. Brain is mush. And they have to cut her out to speak for everything. But the king is dead. The king's a zombie.
Everybody's dressed great. There's wonderful food, big, delicious punch bowl. And then they say, what can we do? Well, just have Brian Stelter go take a dump right in that.
Yeah.
And he's there laughing at you. They're all there laughing at you.
Okay.
Take a dump right in that bowl.
I actually have the video ready for this. I have the video ready for this. It's just funny he's mentioned Brian Stelter. He fucking hates Brian Stelter. Let me show you this first. Let me quickly show you this. This funny clip. I've got it saved. It's so ironic he brought up Stelter again, because I know he hates CNN's Brian Stelter. This is the funniest shit you're gonna see today. Easily. The funniest shit. Hold on. Oh Lord. He just seems to, he thinks that Brian Stelter's like a demon. Like a CNN demon. I gotta show you this clip. This will give you context for what he's saying. There it is. It's actually ironic that it's liberal left-wing podcasts that have all of Jones's clips because they're all reacting to it. I'll forward it. Hold on.
Agent because he would shy away from certain types of overt anti-Semitism. And I'm wondering.
Of hell. Look at him. And you know what? He is better than you if you keep letting him run your life. He runs your kids. He runs the schools. He runs the banks. This guy.
Pause it. Wait a second. The schools, the banks, right?
Obviously the banks.
I mean,
he's not playing anymore.
Folks, he is the media reporter for CNN.
Dude, I think to be fair, he's not talking about Jews. He's talking specifically about Brian Stelter.
Okay.
This guy, this spirit, this smiling, leering devil that thinks you can't see what he is. He is your enemy. Period. All the narcissistic, devil-worshipping filth. I see you, enemy. I see you, enemy. 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 You are my enemy. And I swear total resistance to you with everything I've got. Disingenuous, fake, false, brokeback, twisted, a defiler, a betrayer, a backstabber, a devil. You will pay. Yeah, you think I don't see your face, scum? You don't think I don't see you, Stelter? I see you. You understand me? I know what you think of me and my family. I see you right back. You understand that? You understand that, Stelter?
They're trying to zoom in on him.
Stelter. You will fall. You will not bring humanity down. God is going to destroy you. Get him off the screen. Oh, God, they're so evil. Just please, God, free us from them.
You know what I like, though? Is Brian Stelter's response would be like,
oh, Lord.
And then they say, what can we do? Well, just have Brian Stelter go take a dump right in that.
Yeah.
And then he's there laughing at you. They're all there laughing at you to make you feel small, to make you question reality. Why is everything so ugly? I mean, that's why they tell people, hey, you can be homeless anywhere. You can crap on the street, needles, throw your garbage everywhere. Drug dealers can sell you drugs. We're going to give the homeless all this government funding. Liberal groups come in and farm and milk each homeless person and skim a big cut of the money off the top. It's a crop, but then a cash crop. But then we see that and we think it's all over. There's nothing we can do to demoralize us and make us give up. And even
would he convert to Islam? He'd have to have one of his fucking DMT trips or a dream for him to embrace Islam. But he's built his whole career on being on the outside. He'll never convert to Islam. Even if he knows it's the truth, for his brand will come before Islam, so he won't.
Even though I'm conscious of this, even though I know this, it's still at a DNA level. I'm like, I got to go to the country. I got to get out of here. I've got to separate myself from this. But then when they release this toxic cultural poisonous gas, they push us out of those areas and they get the main infrastructure to then organize that, cut off the food and supplies to that group they have, and then tell them the reason you're doing bad is not BlackRock and the WF and Bill Gates. It's all those evil people in the countryside. They're all white supremacists and terrorists and racists. Let's go get them. Because the last group they don't control.
Yeah, but those people in the countryside are like the zinc. The people in that. Actually, to be honest, the people in Arkansas were actually decent. It was only that area in zinc they were minority there that were like racist.
Rural people that are self-sufficient. And so I get going to the countryside, protecting your children. That's the holy grail. The problem is you got to have 1 foot in each. You got to go back and fight in the city for the infrastructure, for the government. You got to give people hope while also building a backup operation with farming and ranching and self-sufficiency. So that's why the WEF and the UN are coming in Ireland and in areas of Asia and in the Netherlands and saying by 2030, 80% of your cows have got to be dead. And they just banned like 30% this year in the Netherlands. And it didn't matter people were 80% against it in polls. It didn't matter. They sent the military in against the peaceful farmers that were just protesting, just like the peaceful truckers in Canada.
I do believe, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist no more, but beef ban, I do believe. Even stores are starting to introduce replacement meat or even Tesco's and shit like that. Beef ban, I definitely see.
So they're all WEF globalist alumni that the big banks on record brag they've penetrated the cabinets, to quote Klaus Schwab. They've put their operatives in to cut off our energy, demoralize us, release the hardened criminals, put the political activists in prison, continue to cut off the resources, to make an angrier world. Klaus Schwab says, we're going to make the world collapse. We're going to have everybody turn against each other. We're going to blame the political classes that we own and control. And then when we're done, we'll bring in our new solution. But first, they have to demolish the cultures and societies that we had before.
I don't know, some Bill Gates and all these wizards have been talking about.
Their next phase, which is a high-tech cashless society, robot drone.
They're saying that cows, the methane from cows, the cow industry, the methane from the cow industry, contributes to fucking I don't know, ozone depletion, climate change. I don't know.
They've had for more than 20 years. They're some of my first films. Show half the U.S. off limits to humans. All cars will have to have GPS. Everybody by law will have to have a cell phone at all times. Australia just did this last year, tried to push it through. And that's the admitted global UN standardized plan where you don't leave your house without a cell phone. Every car is robot kill switch, GPS controlled. California is moving to ban all the quote classic cars. That's any car that doesn't have a digital ignition. And they admit it's for control. So if people think things are bad now, the straitjacket, the ball and chain is going on. It's all being militarily run. Our military is great men and women, but at the top, our military has been globalist, trained, New World Order people for at least 30, 40 years. They've got almost every general, every person under their control. And that's why it came out in the UK and Europe and also here in Canada. You pull up the headlines. Defense Department purposely scared public into lockdowns, masking, and taking inoculations. UK headline, British Ministry of Defense secretly brainwashed and terrorized public. Canada, same headline. They even let you know, oh, the military is here to do this. And now, oh, the CIA and Justice Department is there to help surveil the public to stop disinformation. And it turned out, of course, almost all that disinformation was true.
He reads about everything. He reads about everything, Zess. He's like the Ozymandias from Watchmen. He watches all the TV. He watches all the news. He wants to see what the agenda for the world is. He knows what's happening halfway across the world will have some impact on us. Like, look at the impact the Ukraine-Russian war had on us. He's always been the big picture guy. So he's always talking about UK.
Always.
About everything. So we have to understand, our governments have been seized. The big corporations want to get rid of the American idea. You got 50 acres and your house and a business and a farm, and you can take care of your family, and you're independent. They have to destroy all that because the rest of the world aspires to that. Instead,
this is why they believe in this communist conspiracy. They see everything as anti-ownership, like an anti-ownership sort of thing. Your kids don't belong to you; they belong to the community. They belong to the state, the nanny state. Ownership is fucking haram. Like their warped mind is about, because everything's anti-ownership, it means it must be a commie conspiracy.
Central bank digital currencies. They want all of these systems that track and trace everything you do in the social credit scores, and the plan for the rest of the public, I mean, we're talking 99%, is 250 square foot coffin apartments
on my app.
5G bathing you in them. Literally
5G. Oh my god.
Protein.
See, this is why 5G they kick out Muslim.
50 square foot coffin apartments. 5G bathing you in them. Literally eating bug protein. And I told people 10 years ago they're going to push bugs on the public because I read it in their white papers. Now,
dude, but I'm not gonna lie, Blade Runner in cyberpunk fiction has talked about this for ages. You live in an apartment which is basically a fucking cubicle. You're eating bug paste or protein. You're basically eating sci-fi protein, which gives you everything. And you're just bathed in fucking tech. It's like he's been watching like cyberpunk fiction.
Grocery stores all over the U.S., all over Europe. They're putting the cricket meal into the food, very toxic.
Undisclosed, yeah.
It's got chitin in it. Yeah, they'll just give it a number. It's got like a code. And you ask again, why would you do that? Because
cricket.
It's all about
they're putting crushed crickets in food.
They don't want people to aspire to open, free societies. Yeah, there's a lot of waste, there's decadence, there's issues, but there's freedom. They want to train us to live on carbon rationing, food rationing, a very dystopic world. You'll own nothing, you'll have nothing, and you'll be happy. So these are quotes.
I have to say,
very dystopic world. You'll own nothing, you'll have nothing, and you'll be happy. Now, these are quotes.
I have to say, I bet there are, I don't know how long into this we are.
You'll own nothing and be happy.
I bet there are a lot of people watching who are thinking, holy smokes, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Alex Jones. I'm supposed to hate this guy. Like, where's the lie in what you just said? I'm not sucking up. I'm sincere. Like, I'm listening to this, and even myself, I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm nodding along to Alex Jones and being like, you're absolutely right. Like, where are you wrong?
Well, I just hope people realize that we're all under the gun. So many of these leftists believe that because they go along with us, they're going to be given powerful positions in this system. This is a technocracy. There's almost no managers in this. Almost nobody.
UK has its own Alex Jones, but he's not as famous anymore. David Icke. This interview reminds me of a Terry Wogan interview that David Icke did 20 years after they made fun of him. And Wogan actually apologized to him. And this is exactly like that interview.
A very small group of technocrats who happen to be transhumanist. And you said something really astute a few weeks ago in a speech you gave, and you've also talked about on your show, that all of this stems from their fear and denial of death.
So one of the things I find so striking about you, having watched you on and off over the years, and this must be a burden for you personally, but your ability to see people at a deeper level or to see things in them that are not obvious to the rest of us. And
I got that gift. I see through people. I see into their souls, man. I know if they fucking disingenuous demons, fam. I got that gift as
I'll
well.
give a specific example. So there's a guy called Brian Stelter who had a media show on CNN.
Okay, so you guys already have context for Brian Stelter. You guys already have context. Here we go.
I met Brian Stelter when he was a high school student or a first-year college student because he would hang around the show I worked on at the time at CNN. This was 20 years ago at least. And I always thought he was awkward and weird and probably had a super creepy personal life, but I never took him seriously. There's a pretty famous clip, and I want to play it right now, of you critiquing Brian Stelter.
Oh.
And you take him way more seriously than I ever did, and I think you're right to. So this is a pretty famous clip of you on Brian Stelter.
Hell on earth. He wants to run your life. He wants to control every aspect of your life because he knows he is a cowardly, degenerate sack of anti-human trash. I pledge before my Heavenly Father that I will resist them every way I can. These people are the literal demon spawn of the pit of hell. Look at him. And you know what? He is better than you if you keep letting him run your life. He runs your kids. He runs the schools. He runs the banks.
I told you.
This guy,
Dude,
spirit, this...
believe me when I say I was listening to Jones for years. I pretty much know everything he said or done. If someone says Alex Jones said something, and I know he didn't say it, I know he didn't say it. There was some of his simps that were saying, oh, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. I go, dude, I listened to this guy going to sleep for 3 hours, 4-hour podcast, going to sleep. I know everything this motherfucker said. And I schooled someone who thought they were a fucking Alex Jones fan. I said, nope. He said this shit.
Smiling, leering devil that thinks you can't see what he is. He is your enemy. Period. All the narcissistic, devil-worshipping filth. I see you, enemy. I see you, enemy. 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 You are my enemy. And I swear total resistance to you with everything.
This is everything.
God. Disingenuous, fake, false, broke back, twisted, a defiler, a betrayer, a backstabber, a devil. You don't think I don't see you?
Why is Adult Swim next to him?
You understand me? I know what you think of me and my family. I see you right back. You understand that? You understand that, Delta?
I've only watched that several hundred times, and I laugh every time, but I also... There's something to, if Brian Stelter had absolute power, would you and your family survive? Of course not. You wouldn't. You'd be, of course not, and neither would mine. So there's a lot that's true about what you said. How did you perceive that? The rest of us just made fun of him.
Now, once they started the censorship and deplatforming, remember back then they would deny it. Oh yeah, we're taking people off air, but it's not censorship. Now they admit, no, it's censorship. We're doing this for your own good. So he was really the face of that. And he was working for the head of CNN that was really in charge of it. It later came out. CNN currently is not in charge. They've handed it completely over to the Justice Department to quarterback, as Congress reported a few months ago with the documents. But at the time, Brian Stelter and his mini-me, Oliver Darcy, were going around calling up and harassing my sponsors, taking sponsors away. And they were going around and organizing big tech to take not just myself, but many other people offline. And so he was destroying our free speech. He was taking our sponsors.
But it's crazy. I just want to restate. You are not promoting race hatred. You're against race hatred. You never have promoted that, ever. You're not promoting violence. You've never called for violence. And you've never even called for breaking the law.
And so that's why there's so much anger there, because I remember the day I did that and a few other clips that went viral. I showed all the stuff he was doing, but then the media attacked me and just clicked it out of context, but still it reverberated with people because people were sick of the corporate legacy media. So people say, well, why is he so angry? Well, it's because he's literally trying to take us off air, literally taking our sponsors. I mean, the equivalent of the Vikings 1,000 years ago in England pulling up and burning a village down. And so there he is, all sweet and liberal and cackling and laughing, but he's really an agent of anti-American.
I'm so liberal.
And so he was the front man of that.
I'm so liberal.
You're right.
I see you. I know what you're doing. So people see it out of context and think, why are you being so mean to him? Well, I mean,
I do believe Stelter. I see the Stelter soul. I think he's a fucking sadist.
And put my family on the street.
Stelter is a sadist.
What's interesting is, and I mean, I don't know if you want me to reveal this, but we had dinner in our barn last night, and there were some drinks. And after dinner, you and my producer called Stelter on the phone. And what was so, and it was on speaker, so I listened to it. What was so interesting was,
they called Stelter.
You know, you've been very clear in a very direct, pretty masculine way.
They called Stelter.
How you feel about Brian Stelter. There's not a lot of confusion about your views on Stelter after clips like that, which doubtless he's seen because he Googles himself compulsively. He was very kind of syrupy sweet with you.
And that's why I was sarcastic and told him I want to date him.
You did.
Dude, they pranked Stelter yesterday. What the fuck?
That you had was, Brian, I'm not usually gay, but I want you.
What?
And he seemed a little bit, I'm not saying he's open to it or whatever, but he wasn't shocked by it.
And he's like, give me
they caught Jones drunk and they pranked Stelter. Bombsings.
Phone number. Give me, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And then he hit your producer up. Please give me his number right now. Let's
that
talk.
was interesting.
But I was being silly with him. But there was also a line. He goes, oh, Alex Jones. I said, I want you to come on my show. And he said, oh, you still got a show? And I went, no, you're the one that doesn't have a show.
Sorry, I should. It's
Tell him the other line.
It's so boorish to like recount conversations people weren't witness to.
It was funny though.
But you said, you know, you're off TV now, but you were a real star. I mean, not on CNN, but on my show. So good. Anyway, but what was interesting was if someone had talked about you that way and then called you late night after a couple drinks, you'd say, you know, up yours, pal. You know what I mean? Like buzz off, or I'm not taking your call. But he kind of sucked up to you. That's a very weird, passive-aggressive posture.
Well, I've said a lot of really mean things about him and attacked him. And when I watch the clips out of context, I feel guilty. But he was going around with Oliver Darcy. They would brag on Twitter and literally hitting hundreds of my sponsors. And I say hundreds, I'd have like 20. They'd take them all. I get 20 more, take them all. This went on for years. So you go get a sponsor, you get them, they're doing great. He takes it away from you. And then he brags that him and Dart, I was taken off Twitter, not for the Sandy Hook stuff that came later that they focused on. Look it up. They had...
it is true though, these guys pushed on advertisers. These guys pushed on advertisers through like for credibility stuff to pull Alex Jones's fucking sponsors.
Twitter and the lawyer on Joe Rogan about 4 years ago. And Joe said, why did you ban Alex Jones? The lawyer goes, okay, let me open my clipboard. She goes, here's why. He was mean to Oliver Darcy. So I'm at the Capitol. They're having censorship hearings. Sundar Pichai is there. I just confronted him in the hall.
Who runs Google.
And you guys are welcome to use that if you want. And then that was at the Senate. So now they were going over to a House meeting. And there's Oliver Darcy in the line. He gets to get in. I don't even get into a hearing where they then attacked me. They'd attacked me at the last hearing, but I don't get to face my accuser. And so I get in his face. I don't threaten him, but I say, you are an evil man. You're un-American, coming after my free speech, harassing my sponsors, trying to get me off the internet. And the last place I was on was Twitter. They'd held out.
Believe me when I say we know worse people than Alex Jones. We know worse people than Alex Jones. It's bizarre to me that of all the people you deplatform, it's this guy. Tommy Robinson still gets platform.
So Jack Dorsey had held out. And so Jack Dorsey admitted, well, the last straw was I bullied Oliver Darcy. And so that's why I was deplatformed. Elon Musk thinks it was the Sandy Hook thing. And notice...
Do you know that in most cultures, bullying Oliver Darcy would be like a rite of passage? Like you couldn't, like that would be a positive good, right?
Well, but here's the thing. He's literally on Twitter taking my sponsors, calling for me to be silenced. So he's been attacking me, attacking my speech and my living. And then all I do is shove a camera in his face while he's waiting to go into the hearing for 5 minutes and say, man, you are un-American. You got some evil eyes. And I said, you really look like a piece of slime. I mean, I told him that. And,
fair.
And so the point is, he's a man.
Vector, what you up to, man?
He goes around harassing people and stalking them.
What you up to, Vector?
And their free speech. He'd already bragged that he'd gotten me taken off all this other stuff and that he was instrumental, which he was. And then he can't take me saying, man, you're a jerk.
Right.
Well,
this is the classic posture.
I know the struggle. I say nothing to people, I get blocked. I've said worse than Alex Jones. I can admit to you, I have said worse things than Alex Jones. Nobody bans me. They just hate that he has a viewership, that he has influence.
Sure. You know, stop hitting me, he says, as he, fires a gun through your windshield.
Exactly. They can dish it out, but they can't take it.
So what's the effect on you And I don't mean even the lawsuits against you, and there was an effort to criminally indict you, I guess, just for having bad opinions or whatever.
A bunch of them, actually.
A bunch of them, yeah.
They had 4 grand juries.
Ryan, we should do an experiment. Create an account, create an account, a Twitter account, make it very obvious you're a white person. Let's test Alex Jones's theory. Copy all my tweets, or everything inflammatory or abrasive that I say, and see who gets disabled or blocked first. Maybe there is Ryan's phone's dead. Maybe there is a conspiracy against white people. Maybe.
Subpoenas about that. My lawyers...
When you've committed no crime, you're like one of the only people in media who's not ginning up race hatred, I would say, just to be totally clear, because it's very common to do that. You don't do that. So anyway, and then of course this $1 billion judgment against you for having naughty opinions, which is insane. I'm not even talking about that. I just mean, what's it like to spend 25, 30 years connecting the dots and seeing this slow-moving storm come toward the country that you were born in? What effect does it have on you?
Since you use the analogy of a storm, it'd be like if I was 100 years ago before they had radar, and I've read about the famous flood 120-something years ago in Galveston that killed tens of thousands of people.
Oh, yeah, the hurricane, yeah.
Yeah, the hurricane. They didn't know. They didn't have radar, and so they didn't know. But there are the fishermen out there catching shrimp or whatever, and then all of a sudden here comes basically a tidal wave.
Crawdads.
And if I was one of those fishermen, and I knew my children and my wife were on shore at school or work or whatever, and here comes a 40, 50-foot wave I know is about to kill them, I would not be thinking about myself watching this giant wave come in. I'd go, oh my God, my wife and kids are over there. And so it's not that I'm a hero. It's not even a selflessness. I realized that I was just out in front and ahead of some people in understanding this because of family and research and just things in my life that I saw that encouraged me to get involved in the media because I was aware of the globalists and some things that were going on because my uncle was high-level Iran-Contra, had some other family that worked in clandestine things. So I kind of grew up just around folks that knew what was really going on. And you're a kid, you don't really pay attention to it, but you kind of get that education, even though you don't know you're getting it. And so I've just been out front. So I would liken it to the old days when a dam would break and they didn't have radio to warn people, and the dam breaks and it's 20-foot wave coming down the valley, and you are down below the dam.
This is like Andrew Tate's dad. Andrew Tate's dad used to work for the CIA, apparently. And he does have family. I don't remember specifically, but he says he does have family who work deep in the institution.
Lumberjack, and your wife and children are 2 miles down, and you see the dam break, and you're about to drown. But I guarantee the last thought you're thinking is, it's going to get my women and children. And that's really my grief. Is this is really draconian. This globalist Great Reset, New World Order takeover is a post-industrial world, cut off the resources, 90% forced depopulation, breaking civilization by design, massive wars, famine. They've already cut off 1/3 of the fertilizer in the last year worldwide. It's estimated that'll kill a couple 100 million people. The lockdowns worldwide, not the virus, the UN admits killed 80-something million extra people in the last 3.5 years. And so when the first world collapses, the third world dies. And then what's left of them floods us. And so the earth is being put into a countdown collapse right now. And so I'm like the fisherman when the tidal wave comes in, and I'm like, oh my God, my wife and children are about to die. And so I'm not really worried about me because I'm a man. I did this. I knew it was coming. I've been proven right. And I'm not happy I was proven right.
Ryan, you missed what I said. Okay, let's test Alex Jones's theory, Ryan. Let's test his theory about white people being the target, the real target. You create, I'm not saying do this as a joke, you create a separate Twitter account, copy and paste everything I tweet, abrasive or inflammatory, but make sure people know you are a white person saying all these things, and see who gets deplatformed or blocked or warning quicker. So say yellow Yehudis, Israel needs to be nuked. Say all these things, but make sure people know you are a white person behind that account, and you're not Muslim or anything like that. And see who they come for quicker. So maybe it's true, white people are the target.
And stopped it. Yeah, we have a lot of credibility now that people see that we were right, so maybe we can stop the next phase of it. But the globalists have gone from testing phase beta test phase into full operational now. And they say, read their writings, we are going to have a post-industrial world by 2030. We will have no personal cars by 2030. You will be eating bugs by 2030. And we will start the depopulation of 90% of the people by 2045. That is the official WF, official UN, official Club of Rome plan.
What do you mean?
Okay, he wouldn't have to copy and paste. He could just reword it, or just say a similar sort of thing. Like, just say, Israel needs to be missiled, or yeah, look at these yellow Yehudis, or these yellow Yids, or...
They want to bring the world population down to 500 million.
But I thought we were
500
opposed to
million?
genocide. No or no? I guess we're not.
Well, we're told now, don't have children, it's bad for the earth. And we're told all this, and Elon Musk is right, and is a hero for pointing out, all the actuaries show, if you don't have 2.1 children, a man and a woman, people go, well, a man and a woman can have 2.1. It's in the aggregate, folks, out of billions. If a country doesn't have 2.1, 2.2 replacement rate, then you don't have people to take care of the old folks, society collapses. And so Japan's 1.3, Italy's 1.3, they're done as cultures.
Okay, Zess was asking, he missed it.
1.3, Italy's
I know
1.3,
his
they're done as
views on
society
Japan.
collapses.
Japan,
And
listen,
so Japan's 1.3, Italy's 1.3, they're done as cultures.
They're done.
America, without...
They're done as cultures. Alex Jones knew before anyone.
Immigrant influx is about 1.6. That's not viable. And I'm not just talking about white people only here, but white people are 7% of the world population, maybe 8%. And so I would be sad if the last of the Eskimos were dying. I'm sad that the Japanese, within 100 years, there might be 20 million of them.
But just to my previous question about, and without getting too personal, but like, I mean, I feel a little bit enervated and down just hearing your dot connecting here. Like, what's the effect on you over
dot connecting?
I mean, if you...
One might say red dot connecting. My Geo joke for the day. My Giovanni joke for the day.
Literally foresee 9/11 before it happens. And you did, and it can be proven. We just proved it. Like, what is that? What's that like to live with that weird ability?
Well, I mean, I know a specific clip. I specifically say, call the White House, tell them we know they're going to let Al Qaeda attack us, Bin Laden, and then take our rights. And I say, call the White House. I put the number out, so I put my money where my mouth was, and that's the only time I ever said call the White House and tell them stop a particular event. I'm now saying we need to.
I like his top though. I had a top like this once, like Alex Jones's top, black top. I had something like this.
White House and say, you've let tens of thousands of military-aged men from the Middle East in. We know a lot of Hezbollah and Hamas. The FBI has confirmed that. And so when and if there's big terror attacks, which I believe will probably happen in America, we're not going to have Homeland Security get more funds and more power and grope us at the airports more. I want prison time for the agencies and groups that have allowed this. And I want Biden. I want Biden impeached now. Okay? That's why we got rid of McCarthy.
Impeached?
Leaving the border open when there is a clear and present danger of this going on, and when we're very close to war with Iran. We go to war with Iran, they're going to activate Hezbollah, okay? And that they make Hamas look like...
Stop Israel if you don't want to fight with Iran.
So you want to hear a prediction here, it's a probability, not a pure prediction. But, I mean, if we go to war with Iran, guaranteed sleeper cells activate. It'll make what happened in Israel look tame in comparison. I'm not lessening what happened there. So I'm simply, and then again, where's the logic? The government that allows that to happen should go to prison.
I agree.
But instead, like 9/11, they're going to get more power when it happens. Mark my words. So
you can't have guns.
You gotta listen to this. As if he's fucking right. Like, if Israel keeps fucking about, it's a term. Fuck around and find out. Fuck around and find out. If they keep letting Israel fuck around, you're going to find out.
We let in foreign sleeper cells to kill you.
Exactly. And you asked the question. This has really taken a toll on me. Not the fake lawsuits, not the weaponization, not the deplatforming. I was already getting exhausted 5-6 years ago. And when I married my second wife, who's amazing, I have 3 children with my previous wife, and one they're all great children, and one with her.
Oh shit, ex-wife, 3 kids.
Married like 7 years ago.
Hawaii.
And I said to her, I want to just write books and make documentary films and maybe do an occasional podcast. But at that time, I've been on air like 22 years.
Dude, I wanna see what Alex Jones's kids look like. I only know what one of his sons look like, Rex. His name is Rex Jones, and he had Rex on his show next to him one time, but I don't know what his other kids look like. I wonder if there's a Brock Lesnar gene, like he's got the Brock Lesnar thing going on, where his kids look like Alex. Yeah, he called his kid Rex Jones. Israeli 51st state, yeah.
6 days a week, 3 hours a day at least. And I said, I just don't want this burden, this big crew. I love the crew, but I don't want to do this anymore. I said, I want to move the country, and I want to just, because it's taking a physical toll to every day look at this stuff. And now I've gotten to the point, which even though I say don't let them break your will, don't let them demoralize you, that's because I understand the process. It's happened to me. Used to, I'd have hundreds of incredible stories and clips every day. I couldn't wait to expose the bad guys. Now I look at it once, I'm ready, I study it, and then half the time I get on air and I just go, let's just take calls, or I start talking about some fun story just because I mentally cannot sit there and stare into the abyss and stare at Biden or their press secretary that's meant to enrage us and demoralize us. And I think that's a defense mechanism that's healthy. So I think we all have to be balanced. I'm not asking people to only fight tyranny. I'm asking people to get prepared, get ready, but wake up as many people as you can, and then do whatever you have to.
Here's what I think with America, what's going to happen is they're going to run the credibility of the two sides down so much that unless you guys come up with a third way, they'll offer you a third way, and it's going to be worse. This is what's going to happen in America. They want you to hate Republicans and Democrats and be like, we need something else. If you don't come up with your own third way from the people, they're going to offer you a third way, and it's going to be fucking worse. That's what's going to happen.
Because we have record suicide, we have record depression, we have record drug abuse. This country has been attacked. And if you read deeper into the globalist writings, they admit they're doing it. And so we have to be aware of it. If you're aware of an attack and aware of a manipulation, it doesn't give you full immunity from it.
No, it doesn't.
But it gives you a buffer. Imagine people that don't know what's going on, and they really believe things are dangerous, things are bad, not because of the corrupt corporations that are running things, but because those evil people in the countryside don't want to be left alone. That's what they're saying on the news. It's the people in the middle of nowhere that want to be left alone. They're the bad guys, and it's the 5-year-old kid that's white. They're really bad. They're all inherently really bad, and just this is
right.
Demonic assault, and it really is good versus evil. But the key part you raised earlier in previous shows that I mentioned that I didn't get into because there's so many topics is this. When you said we need to...
This is why it's not enough to be like Zenith and say, American politics is done. I don't care, but you should care. You need to come up with something from among your people. Let the people or the swing voters or somebody come up with something before it's decided for you, fam. If when they decide for you, it's fucking game over, I tell you now.
Brood on death. You talk about a simpatico or a synchronicity or a weird moment. I don't usually watch your show when it first releases one day because I'm usually at work or doing stuff till night. But I'll get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, hours before my wife and daughter get up, and I will start, get on the desktop, start doing research. And when I'm reading news and sending stuff to the crew for the show, I'll almost always go click on your show to watch it. And that's the go-to thing I'll have on the background. And I said, well, I'm not going to click on the show. I'm going to click on the speech you gave a few weeks ago. And you talked about brooding on death. And I'm sitting there that week, literally thinking about the fact that we've got to be humble. We've got to be thankful. We've got to realize that there's an infinite universe and consciousness, and that focusing on what made humanity, focusing on the fact that we are spiritual beings, but that this life is finite. And these incredible experiences, all the people we've met and known, and all the ancestors before us that did incredible things and went through hell and were tough as nails to get us here, really ties us into our ancestors and the epigenetic instinctive knowledge that really makes us a colony or hybrid creature of all of our ancestors. We have a soul, we have a spirit, we have our genetic imprint that they've proven mathematically is multidimensional, even above the third dimension. So we have a personal spirit, but really we also have a collective bodysuit that is a collection of all of our ancestors, and just the beauty and the wonderment and the spectacularness of that, dwelling on how incredible that is, but also leaning into eternity and leaning in to this body and this incarnation. And I'm not saying reincarnation, incarnation, but being so magical, and that also death is the great equalizer, and that you will be humbled and you will get old and your teeth will fall out and your hair will fall out and you will get cancer or you will have a heart attack, and no matter how powerful you are, you're not in control. In that, it tunes you into God. And then what you said, so I'm heavily focused on this and telling my wife this, and I'm meeting with my dad, who's really my mom, and I don't see them as much as I should, but my dad's really always told me this.
This is where he fucking loses his mind.
Now I get it. You know, as I get older, and
I don't think he's even Christian.
That morning and drinking coffee and just focusing on death and just focusing on life, because when you focus on death,
he probably subscribes to some airy-fairy notion of spirituality or something.
I'm not a Hindu and I'm not a Sikh, but the Sikhs are like a 500-year-old version of 3,000-year-old Hinduism. And the
Sikhs are a version of Hinduism.
Hindu, and I'm not a makes life so much bigger. And focusing on what I'm not a Hindu, and I'm not a Sikh, but the Sikhs are like a 500-year-old version of 3,000-year-old Hinduism. And they think everything's a manifestation of God in the universe around us, and then interfacing and how we take every moment of how magic it is what's going to resonate in the future to bring us close to God, so that we basically resonate into the higher dimension with God. And that's
what the fuck is he talking about?
Understanding of it, spiritual understanding,
Hinduism and Sikhism.
Understanding of it. I didn't read books, and I read what the Sikhs are saying. It's basically, I was reading some of their writings just a month ago, and it was about focusing on
he's been taking too much DMT.
And being humble and being a servant, and how that's what empowers you, so you're not an asshole. You know, like your dad would tell you, focus on the fact that I'm an asshole and shouldn't be. We all have the asshole side.
Yes.
You have a better quote, but of your dad's quote's
the root
better.
of all wisdom is knowing what an asshole you are.
And it really is. My dad always says the root of all thing is being humble and appreciating things and not getting on a power trip. Basically, what he's saying.
Yeah.
And so, because that's wise men.
Dude, this is where the DMT fried his brain.
Totally focused for like, I wouldn't call it meditation, for like 30 minutes, just sitting there in the dark with the computer screen on. And I go, no, I'm not going to watch Tucker's show from yesterday. I'm going to watch this speech. And I click it, and I'm like 10 minutes in, and you go, we got to say everything I'm saying. I hadn't even said this on air. I'm hearing you say basically the same thing, because it's a universal truth. Then I want to bring the next piece to it, which you talked about. You grew up in this super wealthy area of California when you weren't, spending your summers here in Maine. And speaking for you, I watch the show all the time and read your material. It's beautiful. And you were talking about how they're totally freaked out and neurotic and crazy because no one talks about death. Everybody shelves away the old people. They basically put them out on an ice float or burn them like the Vikings. And that by doing that, that's what makes them not be connected to reason and God and the deeper things. And that's why they're so lost. That's totally true. So let me now take you one step further in this. The globalist.
This is where the crazy Alex comes out. He did this on Rogan. You let him get his ego and God down, you will see the nutty side of him.
They're so scared of death. They have all this money, all this power, all this control. So they're obsessed with finding life extension technology, merging with machines, becoming gods. That's their new religion. That's the transhumanism. And that's where all their funding goes. But that's only one side of the coin.
That is the moment he lost Tucker. Let's roll it back.
All this money.
The sound of him losing Tucker. Listen.
All this power, all this control. So they're obsessed with finding life extension technology, merging with machines, becoming gods. That's their new religion. That's the transhumanism. And that's where all their funding goes. But that's only one side of the coin. The other side is that if you're going to be God, you've got to be in charge of death. So because they fear death and they project their hatred of themselves onto us, then if they can poison us, dumb us down, sterilize us, depopulate us, they believe that's more for them at a very greedy level. So they want to be death, the destroyer of worlds, to quote Oppenheimer, I become death, destroyer of worlds, and at the same time cheat death. So it's a total subconscious obsession with death. Instead of consciously focusing on it, getting over it, instead they turn it loose to their animal, lower alligator brain and are now manifesting all this because they've not embraced the higher level of understanding.
I agree with that completely. But it's doomed as a project, no? I mean, it is the Tower of Babel. Whenever you see in history is the story of this, people drunk on their own power, overstating their control over things, becoming convinced they're God, and then being destroyed. I mean, that is just, I mean, it is just an endless loop of that story.
It's a law of humans.
It's a law, exactly.
And
so this can't, I mean, this isn't going to work. They're going to blow up the world before they do this. There's just not possible.
You just stole my thunder, because we've not talked before this. We've talked about a lot of stuff, but nothing about the show, really. It's a law, just like gravity, just like 2 + 2 = 4. It is the fabric of the universe. And I was about to say, in the past, megalomaniacs try to control everything, order the firstborn, killed. Almost every kingdom would do that.
He was never like this. I can promise you, it's only in recent years, as he's got older, he's gone off on it. Like, this kind of rambling, he kept on a minimum on his show. He kept that on a minimum. Now it descends into this stuff when he runs out of things to talk about.
The druids, there's too many young men being born, kill them.
Yeah.
I mean, depopulation's always been there. In the time of Plato, 2,500 years ago, he thought the world was overpopulated. So that's kind of where the eugenics comes from and where they get these ideas. The greatest philosopher ever, who said a lot of great things, but also said there's too many Greeks. We need to kill most of them. They're animals. They're dumb. We need to control breeding and only make supermen. And that's where Hitler got all that. That's where all this comes from. But the central issue here is, in the past, civilizations would just fall apart when they got into a decadent phase. Hard men make good times. Hard men make good times. Good times make soft men. Soft men make bad times.
Exactly.
And so instead of going through that cycle and the collapse of that corrupt system, now there's biological weapons, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, all this other advanced stuff. Instead, they're going to try to use the robots and all the control and the nuclear weapons to make us finally get under their mark of the beast, finally get under their unified system of control, finally get under their social credit score, which was predicted by these incredibly connected people 2,000 years ago, that this would be the ultimate tyranny that was coming, almost psychically seeing it into the future, because of the great evil potential. Time's really a loop. It was looping back or bouncing back. Real psychics seeing into the future what was going to happen in Revelation.
He's spitting right now.
The potential, I believe,
let him cook.
is actually a warning that we don't have to follow that course.
He's cooking right now.
And that's my own
so let him.
belief. So instead, whether you believe in Revelation or not, the evil globalists, the selfish globalists, are using it as a blueprint and literally building the mark of the beast cashless society, where you don't just, I agree to take this mark, I can buy and sell now. You have to worship the beast that can be seen by all on earth at the same time. It describes these big holograms you've got to watch and worship. And it tells you what to do. And it tells you how to live. And it says men become women and women become men. And children are set upon their parents. And there's nothing but wickedness being invented. And it describes everything that's now happening and says when they roll this out, you've got to worship this world government. You've got to worship this system and do exactly what it says, or it doesn't let you buy and sell. And so whether people believe in the Bible or not, believe in Revelation or not, it is now manifesting.
The one thing I know for certain is that Alex Jones hasn't read a Bible in decades. Alex Jones doesn't read the Bible.
I don't see a lie in that. I don't think, I am a Christian, but I don't think you need to be one to arrive at exactly the same conclusion. So you live in Austin, Texas. You've been there since high school.
What happened to his hair? Was that edit?
So you live in Austin, Texas.
Dude, look at that edit. Why is his hair like that? Do you think they've been fucking in and out? Getting hammered. Watch the edit here, guys. Watch the edit. Watch his hair now. I know he took a break, but I'm saying, like, why is he frazzled?
To arrive at exactly the same conclusion. So you live in Austin, Texas. You've been there since high school. Austin's changed a lot. And as you noted, it's been...
Probably wiped the sweat off his head. Edit
West Coast fleeing...
Could be, yeah.
...that they built. You live among liberals now. What do you make of it?
It's not uncensored. That means...
I really feel sorry for them, because compared to, say, my dad's dad, like you were telling me about your foreman or your manager knows how to do electricity, knows how to build houses, knows how to fish, hunt. We just saw that big moose he got today.
Yeah.
These guys are impressive, and they can do everything. My grandfather could do everything. He could fix a combine with literally rubber bands and tin cans he cut up into pieces. And my dad's the same way. I'm a shadow of them and their can-do. And compared to liberals, I'm like light years ahead of them. They live in high rises. They get food delivered to them. They're not in reality. They don't have common sense. They go out in the most dangerous areas that I wouldn't go into armed in places like New York, dangerous of Austin, and get stabbed, raped, murdered, killed. Then they defend the people, their families do, that killed them. They just are like pod people. They are just these obsolete creatures that most of them have, I guess, jobs because they work for big tech or the system. But they are just completely disconnected, domesticated, very, very politically ignorant, culturally ignorant, historically ignorant people. And they think they're elitist. They think they know a lot.
Yeah, liberals.
They're totally useless. What do they do for fun?
Well, I was about to say, and they're the ones that want to depopulate. They're the ones that think that, like Bloomberg said, oh, what's a farmer do? It's easy. You stick a seed in the ground, it grows. Farming's incredibly hard. You better know what you're doing, and you got to have the weather on your side. And it's a all around the clock job. I've had family that are farmers. My dad grew up as a farmer and a rancher. In the summers, they would send me to work on farms and ranches, and that's the education I ever got. It's rough.
Tucker is such a great host.
But is it really essential? Is food really essential?
Well, we're told by John Kerry in the last few months, he says we need to cut farming. Now, organic farming
is he still alive?
Is bad for the earth. I don't think he. I think it's
John Kerry's still alive.
He seems like a corpse.
Like a rubber face. An animatronic Chuck E. Cheese.
I thought he passed
years ago. You know what John Kerry looks like? That video of that Buddhist. You posted a Twitter video of a 105-year-old man, Kaiser. That's what I imagine John Kerry looks like now. Bones, like fucking Withers from fucking Baldur's Gate 3.
Told me he's still alive. I guess it's an open question.
He runs around giving speeches saying we've got to cut farming, or people are going to starve. I'm not joking.
Stupid.
I'm not joking. That's what I'm saying. Cut down trees, cut the food off, cut the fertilizer off to save people.
Well, speaking of starving, I mean, again, as I said at the outset, and I meant this, I've never seen a single person, I don't think there ever has been a person in the history of the United States who was not criminally charged, but was punished to the extent that you have been. I mean, they've really tried to drive you into the grave.
I think, to be fair, it's been worse for Trump, but I'm the second.
It's worse for Trump.
That might be right. He has much bigger resources, though, to back him up.
Oh, absolutely.
He's the head of a political party.
I've spent everything. I'm completely out of money. I'm still hanging on. But yeah, Trump still has resources. I don't. I mean, they lied about my resources too. Said I had all this resources. Now it's been proven it wasn't true. So yeah, they've definitely.
But it was more than $1 billion judgment against you for saying something other people didn't like, I guess.
Well, let's be clear. Misrepresenting what I said, I was defaulted by both judges in Texas and Connecticut. And the judge said I was guilty, then wouldn't let us put on a defense and had a jury decide the damages. Then they put on experts saying I was worth $400 million when I had a couple $1 million last year in my account during the last trial. Now I have nothing. I'm actually upside down right now. And so that's.
So how are you? I mean, they've decided like you're not allowed to make a living in this country. You've been not just deplatformed, but depersoned, debanked.
Debanked.
How do you make a living?
Well, I have been maxed out personally. I'm in bankruptcy, but I've done a Chapter 11, Subchapter 5 reorganization for Free Speech Systems. That is the company that owns InfoWars.
Chapter 11.
That company's barely paying its bills and is operating, but we're barely hanging on. I personally never, had that much stuff. Kind of what they said, so it really hasn't hurt me that much. I'm not really into fancy things or a bunch of ostentatious.
Was it in a repayment plan? Like a going concern repayment plan? What if he's paying them like, I don't know, $500,000 a month to clear it? Which people saying they're poor, I only have a couple of million, yeah, erected.
Contrary to what they've said. And so we're funding the operation. We're selling products.
What are you selling?
We sell books, films, T-shirts. We sell high-quality supplements. Then they call it snake oil, but we sell the same stuff private labeled that Whole Foods sells, just high-end, high-quality stuff. It's not just a fundraiser. I've got the book, The Great Awakening, Defeating the Globalist and Launching the Next Great Renaissance. My last book that came out last year was a #1 bestseller on the USA Today and Wall Street Journal, but
did they list it on their list?
Well, the New York Times, they did. New York Times refused to even put it on the list, even though it was #1. This is my new book that isn't just the bad stuff they're doing with a huge breakdown with all the proof at the back. It is also solutions.
AJ on food stamps.
This book will keep us on air. Plus, it's a great book. I hope people get it at InfoWarsStore.com, or they can also get signed copies there, or they can go to Amazon.com. But yeah, this is a way to keep us on air. Plus, it really is an amazing book. If people want to see a lot of the stuff I told you, but with footnotes, so you can go right to it, everything I say. When I say Naval Noah Harari says the future's not human, and that the population is no longer needed, and the future's, there'll be no more humans.
I will say though, in the years that I listened to Alex Jones, he did have good sources. He did have damn good sources. Like when I read it, he said that the American military was building a gay bomb, a bomb that would encourage homosexual behavior in the enemy, and then it was on a BBC America article. So his sources are damn good. So sometimes you think, oh, he is so far out there, he is so stupid, this cannot be true. And then you go to the source and you're like, holy shit, they were actually thinking about doing this. They didn't do it, but they were thinking about, or they experimented. That's why his quote that still rings true for me today is, truth is stranger than fiction. Some of the stuff you hear him say sounds like fiction, but it's the truth. And it's much stranger than any reality.
To where he said it, when I said that Jeffrey Epstein was running a Mossad/CIA MI6 operation to blackmail top scientists to control them. We have links to that. When I say Peter Nygaard, that's on trial right now, was having women have babies, his babies, so they could abort them at 8 months, and then he could suck all their juices out and inject them into himself. A real vampire that literally takes the juices of his children, puts them in his body. We have Peter Nygaard, that's on trial right now, was having women have babies, his babies, so they could abort them at 8 months, and then he could suck all their juices out and inject them into himself. A real vampire that literally takes the juices of his children, puts them in his body. We have a transcript of him saying that on TV.
Who is this?
Peter Nygaard is one of the big buddies of Epstein and all them. He was kind of running his own Jeffrey Epstein operation.
What the fuck?
So, I mean, this book is super, super hardcore. It's got an amazing foreword by Steve Bannon, and they had a great researcher, who's also a lawyer, Kent Heckenlively, went through and double-checked everything I said for the book, obviously, so they wouldn't get sued.
Okay, so you can't get sued for it.
Documented. It is the Great Awakening, because the Great Awakening is the counter to the globalist Great Reset, to destroy society and then build.
It's good he said that, because now it won't be full of Sandy Hook conspiracy theories.
Back better.
But it seems asymmetrical at best. I mean, you have all the power on the global rate on one side, and then the majority that doesn't like it. So, I mean, like, how do decent people prevail?
They believe they can push by deception.
I might actually. The Great Reset didn't seem appealing to me. I looked more into it. But this book, I might buy it. If I buy it, I'll show you on stream. Because this is a post-bankruptcy, post-lawsuit Jones. So he really has to think hard about what he puts out there, so he can't get sued for just making shit up. And he, like he says, he quotes his sources, and like they're always, and as far as I know them, they're always high quality sources. So
that's why people are aware of why they're cutting off the fertilizer to collapse the third world, to then flood us with those giant populations they will then control and give voting rights to. And if you don't want to give them voting rights, then you're a racist. See, that's why the lockdown is the biggest crime.
Nah, I ain't gonna do that. But it's always good to have what he said in the back of your mind in case it happens, vectored. He was bang on about 9/11 2 months before it happened. You pray that someone like Alex Jones isn't right. Someone as crazy as Alex Jones isn't right. But if he is right, then you gotta be prepared.
It wasn't just the 80+ million the UN estimates starved to death the last 3.5 years, on top of the normal 15 million they starve to death each year. You looked this up. They then use those giant masses of people that are fleeing total collapse as their new political underclass. So that's why it's so vital to not just challenge the Great Reset and the New World Order eugenics operation of the transhumanists, it's vital to then give an alternative plan and have an alternative debate about that plan. And that's what the Great Awakening gets into.
So, but if you give up on that, you also sell bourbon.
Man, you are really being nice here today, Tucker. And
well, you know why? You know, I hate
He's got
selling products, but I
bourbon
like this product
briefcase.
because I love the name.
Look at this right here.
He's got
This,
bourbon.
my friends, is a gift to your crew because I know they drink. I had some drinks with them last night when we called Brian Stelter. But this
Some of the crew does drink. Yes, that's true.
So this is for you. We got a few other bottles for you out there.
Bourbon.
I can't even open this thing. This thing was sealed. Maybe it got locked on the airplane.
Dude, what was in there? Fucking uranium?
I'm like, you're embarrassing.
No, hold on. I think the center thing. I don't travel with guns very often, so I don't know how to operate these.
I'm gonna smash this son of a bitch, yo.
Watch yourself.
There we go. Son of a bitch. All right, goddammit.
That's a good advertisement.
Look at that. It doesn't come like this in stores. I'm gonna kill
Conspiracy.
the people that come over this.
Bourbon's called conspiracy.
Tucker, don't kill me.
All right, we're
Look
rolling.
at shoulders. That's a man's shoulders.
Oh my God.
Look at his shoulders.
Okay, that was amazing. This whiskey does not come with a hatchet to open it, or a black light. But does it come with a black light?
No, but if you have one.
But if you have a black light, by the way, I don't think I've ever sold a product on the air, but I'm proud to say
we
it.
appreciate you supporting
Oh,
us.
dude, come on, I'm totally all about it.
Oh wow. What does it
What
say?
does that say? I'm going to let you read that.
In
It
Latin.
says, thus to tyrants, meaning death to tyrants.
Yeah.
That's the
I
tyrants.
recognize that phrase. I
Latin.
think it was uttered in Ford's Theater.
Thank you,
Man.
brother. Well, enough of that. I didn't mean to turn it to
Nah, you don't
So
write up.
I want to.
The book is more important, but anyways,
So the last topic I want to hit with you, I could go on for hours. We're trying to get the audience of this social media app to believe that you can have longer content because it was, originally designed for very short, brain droppings. But
well, I think you've succeeded. The biggest English-speaking show ever. I mean, it's bigger than Jimmy Carson, bigger than Joe Rogan. Congratulations, showing that freedom is successful and
well,
popular.
thank you. Well, we're grateful that it's a.
No,
it's
I'm grateful to you. You keep
that we
saying
have
that.
free speech, but but anyway, but here's my question. So, all of the
shit.
trends that you describe, I think.
What's the alcohol content? What's the proof in it?
A little bit
Guys,
surprised, but not at all ashamed to say I agree.
I don't
with
drink
pretty
alcohol,
much
but my
everything
friends always told me about that shit.
amazingly, but I do. And I think most reasonable people, if they
Conspiracy
drop
bourbon.
the kind of filter and stop lying to themselves and ask, like,
Okay,
where's the
guys, let's get the bourbon. I'll buy the book.
But all of those
I'll buy
trends
John's book.
are being forced to kind of ahead, or they're going to come to fruition, or something's going to happen in the next 13 months because we have a presidential election on the books, and you have this car crash, and I just do not see how it's resolved. Do you? Like, what's going to happen?
Again, it's the truth. Really, the only show I watch every day is yours when you have a new show, because I don't just agree with you. I learn stuff every time. And what you've been saying the last few months is dead on, and a lot of people agree with you, and I know I do, that you look at the trajectory of this, how they're escalating on Trump, whether you love him or hate him. He's now a populist icon. He's now the underdog. The globalists are coming after him. They're coming after our right to vote.
2% proof, okay.
He gets 60% against
Which is the fundamental right in a democracy. The people rule. I can vote for whomever I want. And if you don't like that person, that's immaterial.
Absolutely.
Right?
And he's been indicted for saying they're stealing elections. They're stealing it trying to.
Oh, I'm aware.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
In their indictments of him is
Absolutely.
election theft, but yes.
But despite that, he's got 60% against all other Republicans.
3-4%.
15,
Yeah.
20 points ahead of Biden. It's backfired.
The spirit's
but the
always
state's
got.
not going to stop. So when you said to Trump several times in that 400 million views or whatever you got, biggest show ever, you said to him, well, isn't the next thing them trying to kill you? And he's so confident he doesn't want to think about that. And
He doesn't want to think about it.
Whereas I admire someone that's that confident. The deep state does kill people, and that's their only next move because this is failing. And I think they're going to kill Biden too, or I think they're going to try to what you said in the speech again before the last one I talked about like a month
Kill
ago.
Biden.
You said, I don't see Biden and Trump being the candidates. You see the system, the media going after Biden, and he deserves it. But
He's right. The third way. They're going to offer you a third way. It's going to be worse. He said they're going to kill Trump and Biden.
Covering it up until now.
That sounds about right.
The laptop. Now they're covering attack on the dog. Now they're covering, all of his senility, all the corruption, the Chinese spies.
Attacking a dog. What a pig he is. I'm sorry.
Well, I was told that by Secret Service and by people that, let's just say, work with them.
Oh shit, 46%, 92. Made it extra manly.
When this is over, I'll let you actually hear from yourself. I think they'll tell you off record. I think they're willing to talk to you. But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years. It's getting worse. Naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs.
He's saying that Secret Service man. Dude, are you hearing this about Biden?
Drugs. Out of his mind. He wanders. I think at that, but
bro.
I actually have a contact for you. I'd like to be able to hear it from them. But when this is over, I'll let you actually hear it from yourself. I think they'll tell you off record. I think they're willing to talk to you. But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years. It's getting worse. Naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning. Then they've got to drug him at night. Sometimes he's got to, though, he'll like be out for the morning for a while, and then comes back out at night for a ball. That's when there's a real problem.
He is on drugs. I have established that, and I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone personally who witnessed him taking amphetamines. And this was during the 2020 election.
So how's this going to? That's huge. I know you don't play games. You've been
no, I don't play games with this. I'll just say he's a makeup artist.
Well, no, you said the NSA spying on me, high level, and then a month later they went, yes, we're spying on Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
So you don't.
It's like an open secret. Biden's held together by pills, fam. Nobody believes this guy is running shit.
Don't make stuff up. And so what I'm saying here is, Biden's a liability for him. Trump's a liability.
Nikki Haley's running, right? Nikki Haley's running for pres, right? Or am I wrong? I haven't looked into it. Dude, that's the third way. That's the worst way of the third way. Yeah, but even Trump is better than Nikki Haley. Dude, if you get that, you're done.
What do? They have a right-winger, they'll claim, assassinate Biden, and they'll have a left-winger assassinate Trump. That then claim Biden's a liability for him, Trump's a liability. What do? They have a right-winger, they'll claim, assassinate Biden, and they'll have a left-winger assassinate Trump. That then gets the country even in more of a fight against each other. And then they put in Gavin Newsom and somebody like Mike Pence or who knows. But I really think the next 13 months is the most critical time, not just in American history, but world history. Because if they can bring down America, they're going to bring down the world. And then you've got the escalation. Remember a year ago, Biden said, you can't give F-16
demolished by Vivek, okay.
And Abrams tanks and cruise missiles to the Ukrainians. That's World War III. Now they're doing it. So as Russia wins that war, as Colonel McGregor documented a few months ago with you, NATO is escalating. Well, that leads right to nuclear war. So we're so close. And that fundamentally makes me so mad. This transcends politics. Since when do Democrats love war? Since when do Democrats love the intelligence agencies? They love them now. And Democrats so close. And that fundamentally makes me so mad. This transcends politics. Since when do Democrats love war? Since when do Democrats love the intelligence agencies?
Exactly.
They love them now. And so really the Democratic,
so dark.
Just like the Republican Party is a beachhead for sanity and populism. It's not perfect, but it's a beachhead. The Democratic Party is totally turned over to evil. That's why I thought RFK Jr. was so refreshing, but they're shutting him out of the primary process. They're blocking him. And so now he's going to run third party, which will take away from Trump. Most experts agree. I know Trump's people have looked at it. They think so.
Of course.
So that's very, very sad.
So do you think, normally at this, so we're in October.
Yeah, but the weird thing is that the Democrats are all on Israel. The biggest criticism of RFK has been his stance on Israel, but all the Democrats are like that. Fucking third party Mars.
In the year before the election, you can sort of see the outlines. Pretty clear. In October of 1999, I was pretty confident it was going to be George W. Bush versus Al Gore. You sort of know ahead of time, but do you think that we're going to see on Election Day 2024 a ballot with Biden and Trump on it?
I've been saying I think they may assassinate him or claim they had a heart attack.
Dude, he isn't dying on this hill. He thinks that Trump and Biden both getting assassinated. That, he gotta watch out what he says here. Bloody hell.
And then, but I was thinking about each one individually, but I think when you said that a month ago, it was prescient that's the next move. That's if I get in their mind.
This is how they give you the third way round. And he's saying they're going to put Mike Pence in. You might get Nikki Haley, your first female president. Kill them both, put Mike Pence.
Machiavelli, that is what they have to do.
But the election just forces the point. I mean, I guess I actually don't think that their preference is overt violence or anything that people notice. I mean, they much rather resort to stealth, right, covert rather than overt. But I just think, you know, there's an election on the books and like something's going to happen.
Well, that's what you're saying. All their tactics of covert aren't working.
You missed it, Ryan. These guys both have had sources. For Jones, it was Secret Service. For Tucker, it was a makeup artist. Biden walks around the White House at night naked, not knowing what the fuck he's doing. He's completely naked around the White House in the evening. He's mush. His brain is fucking mush.
As we saw with JFK
they were saying,
in 1963 in Dallas, they will go over. And so we have governors declaring emergencies to take the guns. All of that is, and then suddenly Democrats are against sanctuary cities when they're the ones saying, Governor Hochul and the mayor of New York, come here. And they're like, oh, we never said come here. I think it's
the Bunny Mansion.
Democrats, they've been betrayed. And
Playboy Mansion.
There's some point where Democrats will have self-preservation, you know, the average voter.
Biden's the new Hugh Hefner, right?
And say, no, we need to turn against this. This is totalitarian. This is dangerous. This is evil. But if that isn't the case, here's the problem. Even if Democrats wake up, the system will know that from their internal polls. The establishment will, and they're going to make a big move. And is that a full-out war with Russia? A full-out war with China? Is it them allowing the jihadi sleeper cells? They're in America that have torn across our border, that are waiting to let them activate. And I'm not saying our government controls them, but they've let other governments bring them in. And they've given funding to those governments. And now if we don't see strong signals against Iran, I don't want war with Iran. What I'm saying is strong signals telling Iran, do not fund terror groups. And we don't see strong repudiation of Joe Biden, that will greenlight the security services to go ahead and let this new attack happen. And a massive jihadi attack in America could be the way to bring in martial law and cancel the election. Also, Klaus Schwab loves the Telegraph, so is the UN. It is imminent. A cyber attack bringing down the power grid will make COVID look like absolutely nothing, is basically his quote. I think I loves the Telegraph, so is the UN. It is imminent. A cyber attack bringing down the power grid will make COVID look like absolutely nothing, is basically his quote. I think I got it almost exactly. And so will they say that power before the election? I mean, the sky is the limit. The sky is the limit. So people need to be vigilant.
Okay. One thing is certain, you're going to have something big happen before your election. Even if you don't listen to this guy, work job, something big is going to happen. Like your politics has hit the ceiling. You got Trump and Biden back on the bill. It's over. And you've no options left, no third way. They're gonna do something, man. You guys gotta watch out, Ryan. You gotta watch out, guys. You gotta watch out.
And understand that we want to let the system know we're aware. We want to promote the values of free speech and of family and of self-defense and of local control and of free market, rugged individualism and a competitive civilization and a colorblind society that Martin Luther King Jr. talked about. We need to go back to the things that made us great, that threaten the CCP and threaten the globalists and the UN, because they're selling tyranny and eating bugs and being locked down in your...
Who is it? Is it the CCP? Is it Iran? Is it Mexico? Who is it? Is anyone that's not you and not white is the enemy? It's like he's talking about uniting people, but then he's talking about divisive politics. Fucking China, fucking Iran, fucking Israel, fucking this and fucking that. And then how can you unite people, then talk about divisive politics? Like, be scared of the Chinks, be scared of the people coming over the border, be scared of the Mexicans, be scared of Iranians, be scared. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Yep.
Houses and forced injections and...
They're raping everyone up in here.
We're selling normal human biology and success and culture. And so I just think we have to give the alternate plan to their dystopia. We have to challenge their dystopia, but also give the alternate plan, which enough people aren't doing. But that's...
He's right, though. You need to create your own third way. You need to.
Big sin is his optimism. America's great. Everybody's beautiful. We have such potential. And as soon as the world heard America was open for business, we saw trillions flood instantly in because our leaders had said America's not open for business. Invest in China and India and Mexico, where the globalists have middleman deals to get all the money and all the power instead of the people getting it. It was Henry Ford, wasn't a perfect guy, but he said the other auto manufacturers, this came out in federal documents and later antitrust suits because he didn't get in trouble. They did. They said to him, the other auto manufacturers, they said, why are you going to pay your employees 3 times what we do? And he said, because I don't want just rich people buying my cars. I want my employees to prime the market to buy it. They'll give me all the money back buying the Model T, and then that'll supercharge it. So that's the 2 different systems. Build this illustrious, incredibly exciting, roaring civilization of laissez-faire, or let these big guys that already made all the money centralize control, shut us all down and vertically integrate so they're in control and then kill competition. So we have to kill the globalist program that's anti-free market, anti-capitalist. It's monopolistic. It's anti-human. It's a bunch of degenerate, inbred, 3rd, 4th generation elites who didn't make all this money, who didn't create all this stuff, but that have decided we don't even get to take part in it while they take part in it and live like kings. So it's us or them, Tucker.
Dude, he's actually asked, he should become communist then.
We've got to crush the New World
He should become communist then.
We've got to challenge them or they're going to destroy the planet.
It's weird that he hates communists because what he's saying is like communism +1 on a higher level. It's ironic. They go all the money, share it with everyone. And he's this wealthy middle class guy that says fuck shit. It's billionaires telling millionaires to blame the working class. But he wants a commie with the millionaires with the communists with the billionaires. This stupid ham sandwich, man.
Believe that. Last question. Where will you be in 5 years?
I don't know. I gotta read the book.
Can you stay in this? I mean, speaking of escalation.
I gotta read the book.
Again, I still have never figured out what your crime is, but you have been persecuted for something in an escalating way.
I got 2 subpoenas last week.
Subpoenas?
I got subpoenas on January 6th. Again, on a criminal investigation.
Well, you didn't do anything on January 6th.
And I got subpoenaed in Trump.
Dude, did they give him a subpoena on the anniversary of the insurrection? Was that Jan 6th? They gave him a subpoena on the anniversary of the insurrection. It was Jan 6th that the insurrection was. Wait, when was this recorded? Dude, this must be recorded ages ago.
Trump's criminal trial in Georgia.
On what ground? On what?
And then my lawyer called and said, "What is this?" And they said, "Well, we don't just want him as a witness; he's a subject." I had nothing to do with Georgia, but I'm not saying it's bad. They went and challenged us, they're right?
Okay.
And I went and protested there, so it's just pure intimidation. So I have a problem. It's that I don't like to cut and run. I'm not the toughest guy around, but growing up in Dallas was
they had already decided. Honestly, the worst thing that ever happened to Alex Jones was Trump appearing on a show, and then he subsequently became president. That scared people. I promise you, I don't think they would have come after him for Sandy Hook if Trump had not appeared on a show and then became president. They were scared that even if 10% of Alex Jones's thoughts impress upon Trump, that's the reason they got him for Sandy Hook. It would have gone completely differently if Trump hadn't appeared on Alex Jones' show before he became president.
Some big guy started a fight with me. I just couldn't back off. And I almost always won those fights or you know.
He's called more than Sandy Hook crisis actors. Going back, a bunch of shootings questioned. They never cared about coming after him. They could have come after him for 9/11. An even bigger tragedy. They could have come after him for 9/11. The families of 9/11 could have all sued him. They could have. But it's that Trump thing that got him. They don't care about Sandy Hook. They only got him because they were scared of his connection to Trump.
And so I decided to go down with the ship. I'm not going to leave the country. I'm not going to back down. And I'm going to continue to fight with everything I've got. I'll never sell out. I'll never give in. I could give out. That's why support's critical and word of mouth, because Alex Jones is seen as a focal point, like capture the flag by the globalists. If they can shut me down, they believe they can shut anybody down. They've said that. And so it's human intelligence and human action and word of mouth. Talking about Infowars.com, my show, what I do, is a test case, almost like Stalingrad in World War II, where all these forces of the globalists keep thinking, we beat this guy at this city, at this point, at this battle, we win. And so I don't think I'm even that important. I've just been chosen as...
He just described himself as Hitler, though.
All these grassroots people and people like you.
He just equated himself to Hitler. This is not helping him. That Ye interview, these kind of metaphors, allegory. He just equated himself to Hitler.
You and other great folks are supporting me through just supporting the First Amendment, and so I've got that backing, and that enrages the globalists. So the more they throw against me, the more support I get, and it's really become a historic battle. If I'm completely banned and debanked and shut down and can't operate, only then would I try to evacuate somewhere to try to keep my show on the air. But I've looked at it, and I don't even think that that's the case. Once they disrupt and shut down something, it's very hard to restart it. The good news is there are so many other great talk show hosts, so many other great people that now understand this and even have perspectives better than mine, that I'm not obsolete yet. But thanks to you and thanks to Russell Brand, they're trying to now set up. And, Joe Rogan's come a long way.
It's true, though. People are filling a vacuum left by Jones. Ever since Jones got deplatformed, people have been so open to him. Russell Brand's been open to him. Tucker's been more open to him because he's got fired from Fox. Rogan's had him back on. People are wanting to interview him. Maybe Pierce could end up interviewing him eventually.
And Steve Bannon and countless other shows that I tune into that have high-level understanding and teach me a lot. And my head's in the game. So you're our champion, Tucker. And there are other people, lesser. I know you don't want to be the top dog, but you are. That's why you're under attack. Thanks to you, I know no matter what happens to me, men and women are going to continue the fight forward into the future. But this is an Alamo situation. I'm not evacuating.
Alamo, see. They want another Alamo.
I'm not leaving. I'm not going.
How'd they do at the Alamo? Do you remember?
Everybody got killed.
Oh, okay.
but that example led to a big, my mom's family raised Colonel Travis's son. And on my dad's side, too, they were heavily involved. First Texas families, we have like Mexican land grants for our property. We still have Mexican land. We paid for 12 cents an acre, like 1825 in East Texas. You come visit. So it's not as cool as your place, but it's pretty cool. And the last letter he wrote on that piece of wallpaper was to one of my great-great-great-great-grandfathers in Gonzales, Texas, saying, please take care of my little boy. But Travis knew he was going to die. But he was like, I got 10,000 troops coming in on our 200 and something. We're going to give them one hell of a fight and kill a bunch of them before they can get up north for the main battle. And they killed thousands, 3,000, it's estimated, if we go from memory, Mexican troops. And so that'd be an honor to have like 10,000 troops coming at me and I'm in the Alamo. I don't have a death wish, but man, it gets me high as a kite. And so
that's what they
I'm
want.
not doing what Colonel Travis did.
Fantasize about this shit.
Ammo, basically. They had powder, but no more ball.
I literally told you guys they fantasize about Alamo 2.0. He mentioned it. See, I don't know this guy too much.
So
I know this guy too well.
And I don't even measure up to them, but I want to try to measure up. And so it's very exciting. It's instinctive. It's spiritual to be defending humanity and prosperity. And
most of my heroes, like Kojima and Nomura, fell off. I disavow myself. I can't bring myself to disavow myself. This nigga.
Justice against these globalist child trafficking monsters, the open border, all this evil. I mean, so my cells tell me to do it. My guts, my sinews say you're ordered to do this. And I don't feel good unless I do it. And so the bigger the attacks get, it's the old World War II saying when the planes were over the target, they didn't really have radar, but they knew the bases and the factories had flak. So they're shooting at them with artillery, anti-aircraft artillery. So you flew into that. And so the best place I want to be is in the flak. But I also hate the flak because we could blow up and we're not in the fight anymore. So there's that paradox, but 90% of me wants to be in the flak. 10% says maybe you should steer a little around it because you don't want to get knocked out. And until just a few years ago, I felt really bad because it didn't seem the paradigm had been shattered and people didn't actually read the globalist documents. Now there's been a paradigm shattering and I'm almost obsolete, Tucker. And as soon as that happens, as soon as I see another couple hundred more prominent people that actually know what's going on, we've already reached chain reaction point, I'm going to hang it up and disappear like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Alex Jones. Thank you. Thank you. What a great conversation.
Thank you, brother.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for your courage, Tucker.
Thank you.
Love your crew. Great energy.
Thank you.
Americana, baby.
Dude, inevitably, Jones will turn on Tucker like he turned on Trump. Tucker will say something, and he's Hollywood God. Jones is basically a fucking Hollywood God. He's paranoid. He'll hear Rogan say a little thing, or Tucker say a little thing, and he will flip on them and turn on them. He's so paranoid. He's like Hollywood God. Maybe Hollywood God is worse, but I feel he is a paranoid guy. Hollywood God, lol. Makeup. They'll have bum sex and makeup. Oh, Lord. That was a good interview. I like that. The thing is, I've heard Jones so much over the years, apart from the stuff about Biden, and apart from his new predictions, like contemporary predictions about what's going to happen. There's nothing you ever haven't heard before. He has been consistent. If anything, Jones has been consistent over the last 20 plus years. It's one of those situations where if you say it enough, eventually it'll come true, I think. For Jones, it will eventually come true. Nah, fuck running it back. Damn, that interview was longer than I thought. I thought it was going to be an hour. Interview was like 90 minutes. He'll see Tucker drinking tap water and turn on him for not filtering out the brainwashing fluoride. Yeah. Will question his sexuality. He goes, Tucker, you're not feeling a bit gay, are you? After drinking that tap water. Lately, we've got people just using like vague language, like, I don't agree with everything you say, but on this subject, I agree with you, to avoid any sort of conflict. I think these white people have realized that they need allies now. So many people are getting cancelled now. You notice lately that as soon as people get cancelled now, you see collaborations that you never saw before. Piers got cancelled off fucking Good Morning for pissing off Harry and Meghan. Now he's on Talk TV having collaborations with people he used to slander and hate. Alex Jones, Ben Shapiro, he used to go in on them on CNN. Now they're coming together. This is what the left has to fucking realize. That if you keep calling people racist and keep trying to cancel people, censor people, deplatform people, you're making these guys stronger. I've never seen an alt-right, alternative right, stronger now than before. I've never seen it. See someone like AJ as an uncle, yeah. I just want to give Alex Jones a hug. I just want to give that guy a hug. That's one on my to-do list before I die. Just give Alex Jones a hug. He's just got that huggable frame. He's got that huggable frame. You just want to give Alex Jones a hug. Yeah, he'll bear hug me. Yeah. Lift up. AJ gonna crush more with bear hug. Lift you up. I just love his energy. He's a fucking lunatic. But I love the lunatics. I think Vector started to suss me out. That I'm just drawn to fucking nut jobs. Hollywood God, Alex Jones, Geo, Omega Katana. Give me crazy over fucking ignorant normies. I wish they liked me as much as I liked them. My love has never been reciprocated by these crazy people. Geo's love, Omega's love, never been reciprocated. Hollywood God's constantly blocking me because he thinks I'm a communist. I'm sure Alex Jones will do the same. Yeah, Lord Boyd, fascinated by it. You collect them like power stones. Yeah. I'll be like a Charlie Manson, put together the Avengers of lunatics. That's what I do. 7 not psychopaths though. I don't want psychopaths. I want people who have a burning heart. You know what I mean? Even if they're autistic or like on the spectrum. I'll call them full spectrum warriors. Full spectrum. FSW. Full spectrum warriors. That's gonna be my Avengers group. Nut jobs. Full spectrum warriors. More than meets the eye. Full spectrum warriors. Yeah, the FSW. Assemble. Full spectrum warriors. Assemble. Spectrum warriors. That's a TV. They're gonna steal that. Believe me. Within the next 10 years, some guy in Hollywood is gonna create a superhero team full of people with autism, and they're gonna call it Spectrum Warriors or Full Spectrum Warriors. They're gonna steal my idea. Watch. They already made Good Doctor, so more than meets the eye. Yep. Alright, I'm gonna end it here. The reaction took us. I'd rather upload this as one-off reaction to my main YouTube than put fucking Starfield 30 minutes. So thank you, Toshi, Vected, Kaiser, Lurkers, Bilbo, Bloodaxe, Zess for joining. Good reaction, man. Take care, man.